Okay, so didn't know what to do to get myself online a few days ago, and I've got a few things to talk about. More than a few things to talk about, that's for sure. But I went on to YouTube just now, and the first thing that comes up is like, holy shit. Like, it's about fucking time. Congress hearing live. Trump reveals big UFO secret. Shocking alien revelation rocks America.
After pursuit of the truth. Thank you.
My name is Alexandro Wiggins. I'm an active
don't
duty
really care about
U.S.
that.
Navy Operations Specialist, Senior Chief Petty Officer. Father of three and dedicated American testifying today in my personal capacity. The views I share are my own, and I do not represent the official positions of the Department of the Navy or any subordinate organization.
He
On
just
the evening of February
told
15th,
us that he
2023,
witnessed
approximately
something
19:15 PST,
kind of coming out of the
in the
water,
Whiskey 291 warning area off
glowing,
the coast of Southern California.
and floated
I was serving on board
really
USS
high up
Jackson.
in the air.
During that period, I moved between the Interior Communications Center, ICC-1, and the bridge wing, correlating the sensor picture with visual observations, part of my routine responsibilities for surface and air picture management. What I observed and what our crew recorded was not
This is
consistent with
nuts.
conventional
Like,
aircraft
why did it take so
or
long?
drones as they appear on our system.
Why did it take so long?
A self-luminous, tic-tac shaped object emerged from the ocean before linking up with three other similar objects. The four then disappeared simultaneously with a high synchronized, near instantaneous acceleration. I observed no sonic boom and no conventional propulsion signatures. No exhaust plume, no control surface articulation on the Sapphire image system. Shortly after the synchronized departure, radar tracks dropped. These observations were multi-sensor and recorded inside of ICC-1 with time location overlay visible in our source frames that have been made public by journalists. From my experience operating in this region over many years and consistent with our public characterized encounters, unidentified
like
objects reoccur in
Rose
United States
from
operation
Brooklyn
areas off
Nine-Nine.
Southern California.
Uh,
That fact alone does not tell us what they are, but it does argue the systematic stigma-free reporting and for the preservation of sensor data so analysts can evaluate safe and intelligence implications with rigor. I want to underscore 3 points for the task force and the committee. Aviation and maritime safety. When crews and watchstanders observe objects that maneuver or accelerate in ways that does not match known profiles and do so near our ships and aircraft, that is first and foremost a safety issue. Standardized checklist and training should ensure we capture the best possible sensor data in real time, including IR settings, slant range estimates, and bearing and range altitude snapshots, and immediate chain of custody for any
I'm not going to
reporting.
watch this for too long, but it's just kind of
Reporting
nice to
without
see
stigma,
that.
protection without
Okay,
retribution.
live right now.
Sailors need to know that reporting
And
UAP encounters will not harm their careers.
This
Congress can help
coming from the
by
government,
reinforcing witness protection
Congress?
and by directing the relevant office to
This is
maintain
nice.
confidential, destigmatized channels for service members who step forward with data. Declassification and transparency where possible. The task force declassification mission is directly relevant here. Where operational security permits releasing metadata preserved sensor excerpts or at least technical summaries would improve public trust and accelerate outside scientific scrutiny. That includes, when feasible, the time geo-reference IR frames and radar parameters needed for independent analysis. To be clear, I am not here to make claims beyond my lane. I am here to provide a first-hand account of what I saw, what our systems recorded, and why it matters for safety, for intelligence, and public confidence. My request to you is practical. Help us capture, protect, fairly evaluate the evidence, and provide a safe pathway for those in uniform to report it. In closing, I want to thank the committee and the task force for holding this hearing and for placing this discussion in a forum where evidence can be examined carefully and openly. I appreciate your attention and stand ready to answer your questions. Thank you.
I'm George Knapp, Chief Investigative Reporter at KLES TV in Las Vegas. I began my pursuit of this weird mystery way back in 1987, and for 38 years, I've always approached this as a news story. It's not a matter of faith or belief. To me, it's a story, and it's an
It was
important one.
very well known.
I'm proud to be here alongside these witnesses today, men who have seen strange things and stepped forward to tell the world about it. Whistleblowers and witnesses who step up are routinely insulted, belittled, or worse.
For sure they
risk
are.
their reputations, their careers, their clearances, their livelihoods, and sometimes much worse than that, even their freedom. I know that one of the goals of the task force here is to figure out ways to protect whistleblowers and witnesses, and it's a tall order because
more
so
we
many
get
of the things
into,
that happen to witnesses like these are extra legal. They're
there
carried out
is
by
going to
persons
be a
unknown.
lot of
As
talk
Mr. Dave Grush, sitting up at the top of the room,
about
knows all too well, including
losers,
events in recent days
retards,
that have happened to him. I want to share a couple of things
so
that I've learned along the way on this long
loose
journey.
at the
and I've
lips
submitted
and
most
quick
of that
to
in written form
speak.
because I estimate that my statement here today would take about 4.5 hours. So I'm going to try to jump
and
over
call
and touch on the
people
more important
things
salient
that are
points.
just
I
not
submitted a detailed written
allowed.
statement for the record, and we'll go into a lot of that here. But the public
Causes a lot of
has
trouble in
been
this
told
world. Causes a
over and
lot
over
of
since the
fucking
late
trouble
40s,
in this
there's
world.
nothing to
These
worry about
fucking
here. These mysterious
Oh
craft
my God, there's
seen
so
by
many people.
millions of people in the skies, in the oceans, over the land are not real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are wrong. They're crackpots. Don't believe it. That changed for me. What got me hooked is the paper trail. Documents that were squeezed out of the U.S. government after the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, became
so much
the law of the
stuff
land.
happening
And those
right as
documents
soon
paint
as
a
the
much
Epstein
different picture
files
than
come
what the
out.
public, the press, and Congress have been told over many years.
Is it only
Documents
YouTube that worries
from
about the
military and
Epstein
intelligence
files? It
personnel
sounds
behind
like.
closed
Like I
doors
swear to
admit
God.
that, quote, these things are real. They're not fictitious.
But let's start a
They can fly
war.
in formation, they're evasive, and they outperform
Back up
any aircraft
Israel
known to exist, including ours.
for a holy
The public,
war.
of course, as I said, has been told something much different. Back in 1989, I reported about a guy named Bob Lazar, who claimed that he worked at a facility dubbed S4 out in the Nevada desert, very near to Area 51. He said he was part of a reverse engineering program. He said there are alien craft that will be taken apart to figure out how they operated out there, and that was a pretty tall order. I had clearly taken a dive into the deep end of the pool there. But in the years since then, I've interviewed dozens of other people, and I've detailed what their testimony has been in the written statement. They include Senator Harry Reid.
And I'm Canadian,
Senator
y'all,
Howard Cannon,
so
also of Nevada. A guy named Al
if you
O'Donnell,
see me
who was
having a
the first
puff
general manager
out of my
EG&G
pipe,
in Nevada, which managed the Nevada test site, which blew up hundreds
you
of
can't
nuclear
get mad at
weapons.
me.
There's a guy named Dr. James Lukatsky.
And if you
who
do
was
get
a
mad at
career
me,
scientist
good
with
for
the
you.
Defense Intelligence Agency, who was the guy who initiated a program called OSAP, Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Application Program, which is, as far as we know, the largest acknowledged UFO program ever funded by the U.S. government, which put together an amazing pile of information that members of this committee and the world, most of which have never seen. The DIA still hasn't released 95% of what was prepared by that program at a cost of millions and millions of dollars. The one name I do want to bring up in this session, though, is Robert
How's
Bigelow.
my man?
So, looking into the idea of crash retrievals and reverse engineering, while OSAP, that program, was active, the DIA's contractor, Robert Bigelow of Las Vegas, made a bold attempt to acquire physical proof of UFO crashes. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy, and tried to figure out how it works. I have confirmed on the record that Robert Bigelow and a trusted colleague from OSAP met with and negotiated with senior executives at Lockheed Martin and hammered out a deal wherein Bigelow's company, Bass, would receive a quantity of unusual material that had been stashed away and protected at a facility in California. That material was not made here. I want to move on now to the Russia files, because that was going to be sort of the central impetus of what I was going to talk to you about today. Back in the early 90s, I got into Russia, met with a number of their defense officials, Ministry of Defense and others, who confirmed for me that Russia had been doing the same thing that the United States had been doing, that is, secretly studying UFOs while publicly saying something completely different. The documents and interviews that I obtained and have now shared with this task force show that the USSR launched what is almost certainly the largest UFO UAP investigation in the world. The first phase of that was an order was sent out to the entire USSR military empire that every unit, you see anything strange in the sky, a craft, an orb, something unusual, you had to gather all the evidence, collect testimony from the witnesses, look for physical evidence, and all of that information went into one program at the Ministry of Defense. Thousands and thousands of these reports came in. A lot of them were first routed to the KGB, but then back to another program that came after this collection effort called Thread 3. And Thread 3 was an analysis program. We have provided to the committee the documents of what they were trying to do, and essentially they were trying to build their own UFOs. They were using the information from their observations and studies to try to figure out the technology. The guy who was in charge of that program, Colonel Boris Sokolov, told me that their goal was to basically develop technology that would be superior to anything we had, based on what they learned from UFOs.
Mr. Knapp, just in the name of time,
Sure.
to my understanding, did you have anything you wanted to submit for Congress to see in this committee?
I have submitted those documents.
Would you like to play any videos? Do you have a video that you would like to play?
I don't think it's for me to play. No, that was yeah, Alexander's video.
Okay.
You can play it, he could narrate it.
Okay, we can, in the name of showing that video to everyone on the task force, we'd like to play that video at this time.
Sure.
Oh, this is the one coming out of the water? It's still, no. It's still the Tic Tac one, though. They're still talking about the Tic Tac. Hey, Tank. Oh, he's my boy. Oh, he's my little man. Ha! My little special D.
That took off earlier.
If we can get rid of the audio real quick. Mr. Wiggins,
I haven't
we'll get
really
back to
seen
what that video
anything
was about,
else
but we
of
just wanna make
them
sure that it was entered into the record as
showing.
well as all the documents. Those will be able to be publicly found.
It seems like this is the only video that they're focusing
If we
on
could, Mr. Knapp,
as
we'll
far
continue
as
with
I
the
have
questions.
seen
I'm
so
moving on
far.
to Mr. Borland's opening statement.
Just talking about the Tic Tac
My name is Devin
coming out of the
Portman,
water.
Former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010
whoops.
to 2013. I've also been employed with BAE Systems and Intrepid Solutions as a senior analyst, expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle as well as naval and ground order of battle. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and ARROW with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with craft and
Oh, and
technologies that are
fuck,
not ours and are reportedly
this ain't the
operating without
boring.
congressional oversight.
This is like the most boring
Because of my
shit
direct knowledge
we'll
of
be
the reality of
watching.
certain legacy
Unfortunately,
UAP
it's like my
programs,
first
my
live.
professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have endured sustained reprisals from government agencies for over a decade.
Just had to go
From
and
2011 to 2015,
put it
I
out
was
there
stationed
because
at
it's
Langley
like,
Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour
okay, ever since I was
operations
younger,
in
it's
unmanned
like the
areas via
thought
Special
of it
Operations Forces in the global war on
is
terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather.
just
and
the
I
thought
was
of
posted
it
my
feels
barracks
like
on
proof
base
to
and at
myself.
approximately
Like
0130
being
an approximately
one
100-foot
hunk a
equilateral
rock
triangle take off from near
in the
NASA
entire
hangar on the base.
universe.
The craft interfered with my telephone.
Man, I swear to
Not hear any
God,
sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or
God
dynamic.
has parallel universes
I was
attached to
under
this
triangular
universe.
craft for a few minutes, and then
And there's like
rapidly descended to the
100,000
virtual
versions
depth
of you and
seconds,
me out
displaying
there.
Zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years
Who knows
after
what
that
kind
experience,
of
I was further exposed to classified information
madness
from the
he's
UAP legacy
created.
crash retrieval program through a sensitive position I held within a special access program.
You know, we can't
During
be
this
the
time,
only
intelligence
things in the
officers approached me in fear for
universe.
their own careers, citing
Right,
misconduct
Tank?
within these programs and similar retaliation that I was
That's my
already
pretty
enduring at
boy.
this time. These issues include medical malpractice committed by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the United States Air Force, forged and manipulated employment documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed to not speak with me, manipulation of my security clearance by certain agencies, blocking, delaying, and ultimately removing my ability to be employed within the IC. The retaliation I face and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March 2023 to become a whistleblower. I came forward out of concern for people's lives and to ensure I did everything I could to let our elected representatives know the truth about what is really happening in the executive branch. At the end of March 2023, I agreed to meet with Arrow following the suggestion of other federal officials, believing it was what our nation required of
What's
me.
sad
I had
is like
reservations
everyone's
with
working
Arrow
together
due to
in this
assessments
same
they were
room.
publicly at the time as a misrepresentation
They're all
of
working
the truth.
together.
Because of these concerns, I
Oh,
cannot
but
share
when
sources
you
and methods
watch the
information in
Epstein
order to protect
files,
certain
like,
informed
oh,
federal
watching Pam
personnel who had
Bondi,
firsthand exposure
that
to
was
technologies of
embarrassing,
unknown
y'all.
origin. I did not want anyone to face further
Fuck,
retaliation
man,
beyond
that
what they had
was-
already endured. And unfortunately, a staff member ended up getting in some trouble because of that. After David Grush
Since
testified
I'm
under oath in
up
December
live, too,
2023 and provided
and I
historic
got
disclosure,
games that I
was then
want
asked
to
go
play
the ICIG and did so in
live
August
too, even though I
2023.
suck.
It was very clear early on during my intake interview, which was video recorded under oath, that the objective was to solely assess how much I know and not move forward with an investigation with new information I provided them. The aftermath of that IG complaint still troubles me to this day. Since my ICIG complaint, I've been prevented from resuming prior employment and can confirm I'm still blacklisted from certain agencies within the intelligence community.
Do you hear
In
that
addition,
shit?
Multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to assess what I had divulged.
This
to the
poor
Inspector
guy.
General, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph or a
His
PhD
life was
unrelated
ruined
to
just because
UFO
people were
UAP
calling
issues
him
as recently as November 2024.
crazy, basically.
As I sit before you today, I and many other whistleblowers have no job prospects, no foreseeable professional future, in a nation every single one of us came forward to defend. Numerous individuals have come
And here's the
forward in
thing,
various
this,
ways to
like,
reveal the
there's
truth
these
of the
people
UAP
out
reality
here
as patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel
trying to
discarded,
defend the
isolated,
nation when
helpless,
if there's
separated from the
proof
country
of
they serve.
extraterrestrials
Efforts to rectify this situation
floating
for
in
all
and
whistleblowers
out
have been difficult
of
and troubling.
airspace
To my fellow
undetected,
whistleblowers and officials who know this information,
then
I
wouldn't
offer my
national
apology.
defense in
Something
America
that I have
want
never gotten, and I'm giving it to you.
to speak
I
with
swore
the
an oath to
people
the
who have
Constitution of the
seen
United
all this
States, an oath
shit?
that demands truth and transparency for our democratic
Like,
republic
fuck.
to function. Each day, these truths remain hidden from our citizens. Humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold.
Knowing more,
Each day, victims of crimes committed by agencies and companies maintaining this secrecy are denied justice is another
you'll
day
be able
our
to
Constitution
defend
is
better.
In 2023,
If there
Patriots provided this
is
committee and the executive branch with undeniable proof of the UAP
any
reality,
hostility coming
and I
from
commend your
these
continued commitment. The future
UFOs.
of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role
And then
as
he gets
elected by your
fucked in the
representatives
ass
is to act on it. The time
by
to
everyone
act is
who's
now.
hired him
Thank you.
and higher up.
I'm a senior
Politically-
politically at the Project on Government Oversight, a nonpartisan independent watchdog organization that investigates and exposes waste, corruption, abuse of power, and when the government fails to serve the public or silences those who report wrongdoing. Whistleblowers are the first line of defense to root out waste, fraud, abuse of power, and corruption in our government. Congress relies on whistleblowers so that it can fully exercise its oversight and legislative authorities. It's understandable that former presidents of both parties have often taken a hostile approach toward whistleblowers. Their disclosures can embarrass the president and their political party or even lead to a national scandal. But whistleblowers continue to play a vital role
guess
during
that's
both Democratic and Republican administrations. They help Congress and the public
pretty
identify
true.
and understand what government corruption looks like. Their disclosures fuel investigations and allow us to address wrongdoing and hold those responsible to account. That's why historically there's been a strong bipartisan consensus in Congress to support and protect whistleblowers. Doing so protects the country and ensures our government is more responsive and accountable to the people. National security whistleblowing in particular is a tradition going back to the founding of our country, and over time, national security whistleblowers and their disclosures have impacted some of the most fundamental issues and questions about how we wish to be governed and how our government can better serve its people.
Yeah.
From the role the U.S. plays around the world to holding powerful actors accountable, government ethics and transparency, human rights and civil liberties, executive branch authority, First Amendment freedoms of speech and dissent, freedom of the press, and the public's interest and right to know. Despite this invaluable public service, blowing the whistle comes at great personal risk. Whistleblowers risk losing their jobs, careers, livelihoods, and reputations.
Anybody who
They can
speaks
face
up about
retaliatory
anything
investigations, lawsuits, and even
in this
serious
world
criminal charges.
is going to
And
get
they can
fucked in
endure
the
deep
ass
mental,
by
emotional, and
losers
psychological
who
harm.
don't have an
All of
IQ
that
over
risk to
80
speak the
probably.
truth, to ensure that agencies fulfill their core missions and that they serve the best interests of the people. Those
And
who retaliate
it's a
against
good thing
whistleblowers don't just violate their legal rights, they
I have
inflict
no
real
job.
harm on our government and betray the public's trust. Targeting whistleblowers instead of the corruption they expose.
I won't
wastes
even take a
agency
woman into my
resources
life
and
anymore
further allows that corruption to continue
due
unaddressed.
to the behavior of
It
how
can instill a
women
chilling effect
really
across
are.
an agency, fostering a climate of fear and distrust.
Women have ruined
quieting
men.
dissent and free speech, and
It's not
deterring
men's
potential
problem,
whistleblowers
it's
from coming
women.
forward in the future.
And because of women, we got a lot of problems.
Whistleblowers are often some of the most dedicated and principled.
We need to go back to
public
World War
servants we
II
have
and, like,
because of their willingness to put
all the
themselves
women
on the line to do what's right.
behind
Congress has
doors,
historically supported
cooking,
them, again, on a
cleaning.
bipartisan
That's all they
basis,
get to do.
but unfortunately,
They get to hang out with their
whistleblowing has
girlfriends,
increasingly become
cooking
more
and cleaning
politicized,
and having their
with
tea and
support for
coffee.
whistleblowers often hinging on which party is in power and which party is
So
politically
much talk
inconvenienced by the
about
misconduct being exposed.
there ain't no babies
But
being
to be
made anymore, and
clear,
I can tell you the main
targeting
reason,
whistleblowers
women.
individually risks undermining whistleblowing, period. POGO advises members of Congress on both sides of the aisle to focus on the evidence, not the
You
individual.
can say whatever you want
We will
about
always
me.
need whistleblowers to achieve
You
the
have
government
no one
that
to
best
call
serves
in
its
my
people.
life.
Because when people of conscience, integrity, and good character refuse to speak up out of fear, complacency, or self-preservation, and leave corruption to fester behind
I thought I was
closed
going to
doors,
start it
that
off
is probably the
streaming
most dangerous
tomorrow.
risk of all. If
Looking
we are serious
at
about increasing government transparency and restoring the public's
some major.
trust, we need public servants committed to the truth.
There's a couple major
Whistleblowers need
issues
safe
in
and effective
Canada.
channels to make lawful disclosures. They need stronger protections against retaliation. And when they do face retaliation, they need a fair
That's what I
shot
was
to be
going to
made
like
whole.
watch. And
Congress has made strides to pass whistleblower legislation, and these laws need to be
a little more
updated and
interesting than
expanded
this.
so that whistleblowers truly receive the protections they need. Retaliators are held
But
accountable.
because of
and we can achieve the type
UFOs,
of government the people deserve.
there's going to be
We strongly urge Congress
whistleblower
to continue its historic
police
tradition
to
of
protect
championing the
whistleblowers.
rights
So
and protections
anything
of all whistleblowers.
that anybody
Thank you
has
again
to
for the
say that's
opportunity to testify here
important
this morning. POGO is committed to working with you and the oversight
and
committee
the
to
general
address these critical
public
issues. I look forward to it.
crucifies them for being right
Mr. Borland, in
and
your
trying to
testimony, you
protect
described
us
what you're
all.
seeing large triangular craft while stationed at Langley
There's going to be
Air Force Base
police
in 2012.
to protect these kind of
Can you
people.
explain what you observed in terms
Yeah,
of size,
okay.
behavior, and why you're confident it was not conventional technology?
Great question, ma'am. So on barracks, on the base, I lived in the barracks. There was a little smoke pit outside. I was there on the telephone and looking across to the flight line, and I see a white light pop up and stop about 100 feet in the air. I thought it was a weather balloon. I've seen tests from there before, weeknight, normal thing, not surprising. I actually finished my cigarette and I began walking up towards the flight line. There is a track, and because I was on 3 months of night work, I would walk the track at night when we were weathered down. And as I began walking towards the light, towards the flight line and the track, the light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was
Like a moth.
white light, and then it was
Just
a triangle.
walks right
It
towards
stopped
the
about
light.
100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead. I remember how thick it was. It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total.
The
one
edges?
light on each corner and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was
I can't even
really
go back
odd
'cause this is
was
live
the
right now.
outside, the best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft. I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion, and I immediately feel static electricity all over my body, and then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm, that really strong summer thunderstorm smell.
That's the electricity.
It's up to flight level. I'm trying to get my phone reset, and I can only see the center light at this point. If I didn't actually see it take off, I would have thought it was a star. And then it hovers up there, and it begins to slowly move due east out over the Atlantic Ocean. I finally got my phone reset. The entire thing was about, from the time I saw the light pop up near the hangar until it
Had like
took off out over the ocean,
electromagnetic
was about 15 minutes.
And following up to
pulses
that question,
off
after you
this thing,
disclose this
killing
information to the
anything
intelligence community
that
and
had a
Inspector
battery?
General, you were subject
Holy
to phishing attempts
fuck.
and job blacklisting. How widespread do you think this is across the intelligence community for those who raise concerns regarding UAP programs?
It's a difficult question to answer. I think prior to David Grush and people beginning this process of bringing people into awareness of the reality of these programs and certain things people have witnessed, probably extremely widespread. I think today there's still an issue, but because people are able to come before you and people are speaking out, I think it has been somewhat less. I would hope, though, that people would, because if this goes back into closed doors, this is going to get really ugly.
What type of behavior have you witnessed from former Aero Director Sean
'Cause the
Kilpatrick,
cat's
as well as his
out of
staff
the
in response to
box
this
now.
information you provided to them?
Once
Did
you
they
let
ever
the
try to
cat out of
classify
the
this
box
information as non-human
and the public
technology?
hears and sees and it's already
Good question.
online,
The problem with this is that I know
you can't
what I
just
experienced firsthand, I know other things.
put this away now.
I think the staff at Aero that I met with in March of 2023, I think they were good people.
It would
doing
get
the
really
job they were
ugly.
told to do. I did not meet with Kirkpatrick. He was either not present or did not want to meet me that day. However, they did classify information about the reality of this subject, and it was very concerning because in my Aero MFR, they had actually referenced a former staff member that was the one who told me to go there, and they probably shouldn't have done that.
And real quick before my time is up, and we might go to second round of questioning just so you're all aware, how important, given everything that you've seen and experienced, is the UAP Disclosure Act of 2025 in restoring both public accountability and trust?
I think very important. I would hope, though, that the 7-year window could be shrunk, my opinion, but very important. The truth needs to be known.
Mr. Wiggins, I want to talk to you.
Lots of truth
I
needs
find,
to be known.
Your background and testimony compelling. When you first saw what you were looking at, what were your first thoughts?
My first thoughts were, I think everything that I was told and taught as a kid and as growing adult no longer was applicable. If I'm able to see something that I thought defies gravity in such a way, then what else could be possible? That was my first thought.
So did you think what you were looking at was a weapons program that you were unaware of, or did you think what you were looking at was obviously some extraterrestrial piece of technology?
Neither one of those crossed my mind. It was just.
How about now? What do you think it is now?
I'm not the expert. I think it. I want to be as skeptical as everyone else and just hope to know the information.
Anyone in the U.S. government tell you what you were looking at to try to dissuade you from what you thought it was?
No.
So no one was like, oh, there was some anomaly with the technology. No one from the government did that?
No one.
How do you think you were treated when you reported this information or have talked about, the Tic Tac video is well out there. It's well reported. How were you treated?
I've had no pushback at all. I haven't had anyone reach out to me or try to, dissuade me in either direction, militarily speaking. So I was treated fair, and I appreciate the Navy itself with assisting me with coming here to being able to testify.
That's good. So what do you think the American people should take away from watching your video? Right? Because when we watch it, obviously, right, we've never seen anything like that. It defies what we know to be technologically possible. What are we supposed to think? Someone's lying about something. Someone's hiding something, right? That's not normal what you looked at.
I think what the American people should think when seeing that video, along with others before me, is that there is something out there, and we should know as the people what it is.
Right, and so let's eliminate possibilities. So they didn't come to you and say there was a technological error with what you were looking at. So we put that aside, right? They didn't say it was broken. So we look at that and we see something.
This is pretty jaw-dropping,
so
honestly,
it's either a weapons program being reverse engineered by our governments or other governments, or it's nobody's government, and it's not from here. Those are it. You agree with that assessment?
I agree, one or the other.
What do you and your friends think about it today? You all have talked about it. I mean, so what do you think about your experience as a collective group? That'll be my last question, Madam Chairwoman.
I mean, we've been talking about this for 20 years. We don't know what we saw. What we saw changed our lives and the way we think about everything. It was incredibly profound. The object I saw, I don't even know if it was an object. It was a light. It was an orb. It didn't look like a craft, but it did look solid.
Oh my God, there's so much videos out lately.
And this was a pattern across all the encounters. Someone would see a light. They would
With
pay
those
attention to the
metal,
light.
just
That- and then
a
the object
ball,
responds. It performs for you.
super
And then
cold. It's
they
like
come down
that
and they
one guy
investigate you. So it's almost like they're
actually
curious.
took it home.
So that's the thing we
Oh my
primarily
God.
talk about. Why did it come after we noticed it? Maybe it noticed us after we noticed it.
I only have 1 minute left, so Mr. Knapp, we are definitely going to watch every documentary.
Yes.
You guys have done you and Jeremy have done a terrific job. I usually
oh
have
my
more
God,
questions than I have answers.
she-
I think we all do, and you guys are doing a terrific job to bring information to the public. Do you think
is
that any of this
brutal.
is a psyop by the U.S. government?
Entirely possible. I mean, our government and other governments have admitted that they've tried to use UFOs to cover secret projects, but I think they also do some reverse engineering of those claims. So years after people start seeing UFOs over Area 51, for example, they come up with the story, oh yeah, that was, we planted that story. So I read in a major newspaper just a couple of weeks ago, they planted this story. An Air Force colonel went out into the desert, went to a bar at Rachel, and gave them some fake UFO photos, and that's how the whole story about Area 51 started, which is preposterous.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to the crash retrieval program stuff yet, Ms. Chairwoman.
That's nuts.
There's just so
What
much.
the fuck?
Okay, thank you so much for your time today. I wish we had more time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I now recognize Mr. Burchett from Tennessee for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and thank you, Ranking Member Crockett. I see a lot of friends out there, and I see a couple enemies, so I'll kind of remember that. But it's a pleasure being here. I want to remind people, too, this thing is an ongoing deal. We're not going to get this overnight. We've been fighting this battle, some of y'all, for 30 years. and maybe longer. I hope we just keep focused on what we're trying to get to is total disclosure. We get a little wrapped up in a lot of things, but the government has something, and they need to turn it over to us. We pay their dadgum salary, you pay our salary, and you ought to get more out of us than you do. And that's what disgusts me about this whole thing. I think they're just trying to
Fucking
run the clock
God,
out
you
on us.
say that.
Really. They'll poke us a little, and they'll make jokes to us and try to pull us off the target, but I think we know where we're at, and that's why they're firing at us, because we are over the target. My first question is, Mr. Knapp, I recently introduced the UAP Whistleblower Protection Act to help provide whistleblower protection to federal personnel for disclosing the use of federal taxpayer funds to investigate UFOs. I still don't want to say UAPs. How can Congress further increase whistleblower protections?
I think you got to unleash the dogs and go track down the money and where it goes, because a lot of this stuff has been moved out of government.
Sure.
As you know, Rep. Burchett, it's been given to private contractors who stashed it away. They've had it for so long that there's nobody left inside government, or very few, who know where it is.
And they do that to keep us from FOIA, correct?
Yeah, it's to keep it from FOIA. And I think that the contractors who've had this stuff for a very long time set their own standards about who is allowed to know what. And it's a very small group that ever cracks that. I think Representative Luna has been looking at the use of classifications to hide things. I'm not sure that even this committee getting security clearances that should allow you to see this stuff would allow you to follow where it really goes.
I worry about the people that are looking at it and don't even know what they're looking at. I mean, it's gone through so many, since Roswell, for instance. I mean, you think there's nobody even alive that was around any of that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think they've made much progress from the people that I've talked to. I don't think they've made much progress in learning that technology. Might have made some, but you wonder, the implication is tic-tac. Oh, yeah, that's ours. What flew over Washington, D.C. in '52, is that ours too? When are you going to break that out? You guys authorized tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on weapon systems that can't do half of what we've seen UFOs do. So when do they break this out if it's really a classified project could change the world? I don't think they've made much progress, and I think they've been lying to us and to you and the rest of the world, and they're still doing it.
Yes, sir, I agree with you. How did you manage to obtain the classified Russian UAP documents, and how did you get them back in the United States?
Well, I met this Russian physicist who was in the United States lecturing.
And I want to clarify that. I can't even take a thing of honey home on my airplane when I fly back to Tennessee.
Yeah,
so
I did something pretty dumb.
And I'm bitter about it, but go ahead.
I did something kind of dumb. I met with these officials who,
he's definitely bitter about it. He's bringing it up in Congress.
The Russians were trying to open up to the world, and I saw it as a window of opportunity, and it was. And we were able to talk these folks into providing us information that otherwise we would never have seen. Some of that was classified. I found out that they only stamped the top pages of these documents that were classified, so I just removed them. I removed those pages, and I carried them out. And if they'd caught me, I'd be in a gulag still.
Yeah. We'd be saying, what happened to George Knapp? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What
yeah.
The
What
Russians
happened to him?
that came forward to you in 1993, and were there any repercussions for them?
Well, there were. The first thing that happened when I talked about this after getting back and going through the files and things and sifting through it, the Russian physicist who had helped us introduced all these people wrote back and said there was a huge eruption, that there was the real right, far autocratic forces that wanted a return of the USSR had really go after these guys. They described them as traitors. Nikolai Kapranov, the physicist friend of mine, said, look, if this had happened 5 years earlier, we would be in prison. If it had happened 10 years earlier, we would have been shot. Right. Luckily, at that point, Putin was not in power, but none of those people that we talked to on that trip
For some
in
reason,
1993
I think
would ever talk
the
to me
people
again.
back
I went
here
back in 1996,
keep changing.
and it was like I had the plague. I spoke to different people.
I have to watch that.
But they were scared. And eventually, the story was spun where the Ministry of Defense officials who gave us this
they look
information
like they're being cut
were
out and
described
put
as
in.
ufologists who said there was
He's like
nothing
cut out and
really
put in.
significant to these files. They didn't really find anything a big deal. And I can tell you, you'll see those files that I shared with you. They did find stuff. There was an incident in October of 1982 over an ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they'd appear and disappear, and right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking. The UFOs they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And that's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
All right.
Chief Wiggins, based on your training and operational experience, could the behavior that you witnessed, a transmedium object vanishing without a sound, be explained by any known technology that we possess or other governments possess?
It cannot.
And has any government agency debriefed you or any of your shipmates regarding the EOIR and radar confirmed UAP encounter aboard USS Jackson?
No one has, no, ma'am.
What was that encounter like when you brought that up? If you want to briefly summarize that, when you brought that to their attention and then you were not provided any follow-up, who was told and how did you feel when there was no contact back to you?
As far as the actual incident happening
Yes,
or
sir.
the reporting level?
Yes, Chief.
It was
Maybe they're not changing in the
within
back.
the event happening. My duties are
They're
to
still the
report to the
same.
tactical action officer on watch while we're standing watch. So, tactical
It's kind of
action
crazy
officer
how
was
good
there.
cameras can
I
be.
made my
Like,
report.
fuck.
I've not had any discussion outside of that
It looks
day.
like he's
There's
cut
been
out
no
even, like,
communication
look at
to me
right around
or
here.
requests from me to within inside of the
Each
military.
person almost looks cut
but
out.
Speaking of that actual incident itself, once the report
That's
was
cool.
made to the tactical action officer, that's when I made the decision to ask the individual watchstander that was controlling Sapphire to be able to slew into the location. And that's what you see in the video itself is when the watchstander is slewing in and kind of showing us what we're looking at. But outside of that, that's as far as the reporting went that I know of.
Thank you, Chief. Just for the sake of time, Mr. Nusatelli, has RO, the Air Force, or the FBI ever followed up with you personally about the Red Square event?
I did have follow-up by Aero, nothing with the Air Force. The Aero office updated me.
And this is a
at
huge
least 2
topic.
times. They let me know that they were unable to locate any records, that the records had been destroyed by the Air
There is
Force.
so much to
The
talk
Air Force is
about.
destroying all their police records every 3 years on a schedule. So,
You were informed that these documents were destroyed.
well, I have a Freedom of Information Act from the Air Force that states clearly that they destroy all police records on a 3-year schedule.
Okay. So they were sitting on documentation, destroyed it, refused to question any of the lead investigators, anything leading into this investigation?
Yeah, basically, they destroyed all the police records. So you couldn't even, like, call the Air Force and ask them if there was a vehicle accident in that time frame. So that's a big
Holy
problem.
shit.
We're losing data in real time. So we'll never be able to go back and
I
track.
think our federal government has a history of destroying records. Thank you very much, Mr. Nusatelli.
Look, I'm not jumped to the conclusion that I believe that there are, aliens coming from another planet.
I'm not pausing
I'm
this right
open to
now,
that.
but like,
And I
holy
think that
shit.
it's our responsibility, especially when
Liberal
we're seeing that
oh
we
my-
have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get
It has
an amendment onto the National Defense
destroyed,
Authorization Act that fit in the germane
I think, the entire world, liberal,
to have UAP disclosure.
everything.
And conveniently, it was named non-germane, mostly
If you're
de-
liberal,
deemed by
it's like you
staff,
need to be shot.
Not even an elected official. This is the kind of stuff that we repeatedly see. Last year, we were
Not
blocked by
literally
someone
and
in
just
the
like
House administration
figuratively
from being
speaking,
able
like
to receive a full briefing
slap you
from
upside the
Arrow.
head. If you're
So,
liberal,
not an elected official, but
you've
someone
ruined
in
the
staff
world.
blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a
It's like,
video
you want to know
that-
why
that I've,
Canada's the
been
most
given.
expensive place in the world to
And
live?
before it starts, I'm going to describe.
liberal.
This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does.
The
This is when it zoomed out, so you can still see it traveling. So, Mr. Knapp, do you have you heard about, events like this occurring? And what information might you have?
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild, and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
So again,
flies like that?
again, I'm not going to speculate what it is, but the question is, why are we being blocked from this information consistently?
shit.
And you had
When
you
it's
reported,
public already.
James Lukatsky came to you with government possession of NHI.
This is
craft
fucking stupid,
and how
really.
they ultimately gained entry. Can you testify to the veracity of that claim?
Dr. Lukatsky is an honorable man who served most of his career with the DIA, a very trusted, high-level rocket scientist and intelligence analyst who inspired the OSAP program, as I said earlier. And in full disclosure, I've co-written 2 books with him. He dropped this on myself and our other co-author out of the blue. And it took 14 months for us to get DOPSR approval for him to release 2 sentences on that. He said this craft, we had managed to get inside of it. It had no wings, no rotor, no tail. It had no fuel tanks. They didn't know how it flew or how it was operated. It clearly looked like it was aerodynamic, but he would not go further. He's a by-the-book guy, and until he gets clearance to say more about that, I don't think we're going to hear much more. But it's not ours. It wasn't ours. We didn't make it. We didn't know who made it and how it was built and how it operated. We've got at least one. And I don't know, I think that's enough confirmation that we do have recovered
Leslie.
discs and material.
Mr. Knapp, I've watched many of your videos on Joe Rogan and other places. One of the big questions, I think, for many of us is why do you believe that the federal government refuses to be transparent about this issue?
I think there's probably multiple reasons. At the start, when these things first started invading our skies in large numbers, we were scared. It was right after World War II, and we didn't know what they were, and they didn't want to panic the public, and that was probably a good call. Over time, I think the lying sort of became institutionalized, Flights over Washington, D.C. in 1952, they're seen, they're captured on radar, jets are chased after these objects, and then we get an explanation it was a temperature inversion. And those kind of lies have been told for a long time. What was told to me by an investigator from Congress, a guy named Richard D'Amato, who was sent after this story by Robert Byrd and Harry Reid, he came out to Nevada, tried to get into Area 51, did get in there, looked around, talked to people, trying to get to the bottom of it. He believed that this program, reverse engineering, et cetera, was inside, had been moved inside these corporations. And he said, when this comes out, people are going to go to prison. And he meant people who were basically misusing legitimate national security funds, tens of billions of dollars, in order to keep this cover-up going. I also believe there's a legitimate reason for the cover-up in that there is
the same in the background,
undeniable
for sure.
connection of national security involved in this technology. If we are racing for it to master that technology against the Russians and the Chinese, which is what I have been told by Senator Reid and many others, then it is a race that's critical to our survival. There could be a form of disclosure, I think. Yes, it's real, it's from somewhere else, without revealing all the details that would allow someone else to have an advantage in the race for this technology.
Thank you.
My first question is to Mr. Knapp. Mr. Knapp, how do we know that the files that you obtained from the former Soviet government are not BS and just given to you as a disinformation campaign against the U.S. government?
That's a good question. So I shared some of them with the Senate Intelligence
That's a
Committee
very
when I
good
first got back
question.
because
That's
that
like
was
the
requested
best
by the Russians
question
who
so
shared some of that
far.
information with me. Secondly, I gave all of that material to the DIA through BASS, the OSAP program. Sorry for the acronyms.
Can you name names real quick? Sorry.
At BASS or OSAP?
Who did you give them to directly?
I gave them to Robert Bigelow and to Jim Lukatsky. And they hired a whole team to go through them and retranslate them and analyze it, and they created a structure of how the UFO programs in the USSR and Russia were put together. They said they were real. The other person who said they were real is David Grush.
And then finally, Mr. Borland, when you engaged with Arrow in 2023, you noted that their public statements did not match the reality that you and others had witnessed. In your assessment, what were the key limitations of Arrow?
You know, I would put it to you this way. The statement Arrow has made is scientific evidence of extraterrestrials. Scientific evidence requires a scientific control. Extraterrestrial is an entity on another planet. The only way to scientifically prove extraterrestrial is we have to go to that planet, acquire technology, bring it back, and compare it to what we have here.
So you're saying they won't let anything out because, or they won't come forward unless they confirm that unless they go to the planet and confirm where its origin is.
That would be scientific evidence, yes. And by that statement, Arrow found no scientific evidence of extraterrestrials is basically, I don't want to call it a psyop, but a misrepresentation, because we do have things. But making that statement is not technically a lie. It's a misrepresentation of the full truth.
I'm going to go to you, Mr. Knapp,
True.
first. You've interviewed numerous UAP whistleblowers over the years. Question is, how do you verify their claims before deciding they're credible enough to report on?
It's a combination of factors. First, you check their credentials. Did they really serve where they said they did, and did they work where they said they did? Are there any other witnesses? Is there visual proof, film, footage, things of that sort? You ask the people around them that know them, that used to work with them. If they're credible people, that's one way. You know, I think about Arrow, the organization that this body created to deal with witnesses and whistleblowers. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time here, but they invited people to come forward, service members who saw things and had experiences. And I can tell you that the people that I have talked to who went through that are deeply disappointed.
And this guy knows a lot of people and has talked to a lot of people.
Would record missile tests. They recorded all of them. On one of these particular tests, a UFO comes out of nowhere, zaps what looks like a laser beam at what would have been a nuclear dummy, a nuclear weapon, and disabled it. And he is called into the commander's office. Two guys in suits clip that film footage out that shows the UFO, and he's ordered to never talk about it. He comes forward to Arrow. He heeds the call, thinking he's doing his duty as an American to tell that story, and they completely dismissed him. They made up a story that they had tracked down the original footage, and there was nothing like that in it. Well, there was no original footage. It had been taken away the day the footage was recorded. He's deeply disappointed. People like Bob Salas, who had worked at a nuclear ICBM base, who saw UFOs flying over the base, and these missile silos were taken down. He went to Arrow, too, and was completely disregarded. It almost looks like Arrow operated as a counterintelligence operation to get people to come in, tell their stories, and then discredit all of them. I can't imagine that any whistleblower or witness will ever go to Arrow again because of what happened under the first director, who's now long gone, but still seems to act as the spokesperson for that organization.
And I would say, Madam Chair, maybe at some point we need to really dig deep into Arrow, and I would encourage us.
Oh, I'd be happy to send maybe a subpoena to Mr. Kilpatrick.
There you go.
Another question for you, Mr. Knapp. What is, in your view, having investigated this issue for so many years, what is the long game with respect to disclosure of this information to the public? Because with the advent of essentially a video camera and a high megapixel phone in everybody's pocket, at some point, this information is going to be impossible to withhold from the public. What do you think is the long game here?
Well, the secret's out. I mean, how many videos have there been already? You know, videos that are leaked from within the military and
it's like
intelligence agencies.
I should just start going through them right now.
It's out there.
Fuck.
But they have the high ground. The people that don't want us to take it seriously dismiss it, discredit the witnesses, come up with a cover story. I mean, it's been out there a long time. The public senses that it's real, and the people in authority dismiss them. It's a game that's been going on a long time, and I don't think they're ever going to release it. I think that there's an attitude among the people that have been involved in this for a long time that the public doesn't deserve to know, and that the public probably can't handle it, but they can.
Real quick, I'd like to ask the committee to replay that video that Burleson had played earlier. I want to ask every witness here.
Except if we look at the
since
world
Marina had been
events
the
that are
record of
happening
this
around,
movement real quick. So if you guys can please roll that real quick.
I don't think the general public, because the general public are so fucking stupid. I don't want to leave my house because I have to deal with so much stupidity. Oh my, like, look at that. And it still just keeps fucking flying. That's nuts.
Okay, while this is still rolling, Mr. Nusatelli, real quick yes or no answers. Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
Okay, does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Nat?
I had a different reaction. I was really happy that it got out. Thanks for providing
Curiosity
that,
kills the
Congressman.
cat. All right, Mr. Borland?
Yes, for
Okay. All right, that is the end of my questioning.
Chief, I was on a ship for a little bit. I was a gunner's mate on the USS Gettysburg for a couple years. My question to you is, when you had your encounter and you saw it on the screen,
I'm going to end up
you were
stopping
in the CIC, is that correct?
soon
That's
here
correct. On an
because
LCS ship,
I noticed that
the CIC is on the bridge, so it's called ICC.
it just
yes, same.
cut
Did a bunch of the other folks in the
into
CIC come and check out what you were looking at?
the last
Yes, we all did.
scene where they were like,
Tactical action officer, myself.
does
the
this video
RCO,
scare you? They're like, yep, yep,
two others
yep.
that were on watch. We were all in the same space, so we were all looking at the Sapphire screen all at the same time.
Because in the other couple instances with the witnesses, you guys just saw it by yourself. Is that correct? Mr. Borland, you saw it by yourself?
me, yes, sir.
Mr. Nusatelli, you saw this by yourself?
No, there were multiple witnesses in every case at Vandenberg.
Okay. How long did that encounter take place, Chief?
So the encounter itself, from the time I recognized on my radar to the time after the video ends, was probably about 5 to 7 minutes.
What speed was the object moving at?
When I first witnessed off the port bridge wing the object moving out of the water, what I thought was originally just a light on the water, something on the horizon, and surfacing and going into the air, I then knew
I'd have
it
to
was an air
say
contact.
that's a good spot
As
to
an
stop.
As an air controller myself,
Yeah, that's a good spot to spot. Spot to spot. All right, yeah. Like that was nuts. Man. Oh, yeah. That'd be kind of fun to jump in before I kind of really shut down. Wait. Is this...
You knew we were going to cover it, boys. You can be upset with me if you want, but you knew I was going to cover this
Yep.
article. Marathon has sold 1.2
Yep.
million copies.
Oh
across
my God.
Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox.
Okay.
Marathon hasn't exactly made the splash.
Marathon, I was looking forward to it because I played the Server Slam, and I love how that game looks. Like I'm really tired of looking at these games that are getting closer to looking more real. And to me, playing real life is not that fun. It's not a game. But this was like, it brought just how real everything felt, and to stay alive was exciting because the bots are fucking hard. Now, I only say the bots are hard because me personally, at 40 years old, 1985, after high school, I focused on women. I'm trying to find a woman to marry. And, the first one I did find, like, she was a good one, and I should not have left her. But I did have a neighbor that come in and, a woman that's home and spends time with their man, and, she's having troubles and she wants to get away. So it's like, oh my God, me and her kind of fell head over heels for each other, and I made a terrible mistake. But for 20 years, I have not been playing games trying to find a woman. So, after having to, no reason at all, had to go to jail for no reason. Like, I can't even tell you why. It's like, if you know what a white woman is like, boys, they're crazy. And you know what I'm talking about when I say crazy. Like, they've called the police over nothing. Nothing. But when they call the police and the police show up, they got shit that I've never heard about before. So, I haven't played video games for a fucking long time until just last year. I started playing video games, and I started off getting back into Diablo Immortal, when I've been a Diablo fan my whole life. Then I jumped into Destiny Rising. Then I got a gaming PC. I'll show you guys it soon. I had to do an upgrade so I could actually play games. But yeah, I just started. So I've got no muscle memory. My eye-hand coordination is so fucking off. So, give me 5 years. Fuck. Give me 5 years, I'll get good. But, so, like, here's the hate that I have towards this particular game that Bungie made. Like, I don't even play it anymore because it's so hard. And, like, I'm getting really good at killing the bots now, no problem, but the PvP aspect is absolutely insane. So Bungie creates a game with Sony, PlayStation, and this game is, for a very small particular niche of game players, and these game players are the big streamers, one of which we're watching right now. All right, Aztec Cross, he's awesome. Now, you want to know why this game has failed? Ironically speaking, it's because of the streaming professional first person, third person shooter type pros out there. This is the real fall to this particular game. Only the pros in this world can play this game. Only the pros. So if you look at the pros in the game and in the world, you can watch them online. And how many teams made it to Vault 7? What, and how long did it take for the first team to get to Vault 7? What was it like? Fuck, I can't even remember. I swear to God, it was like 10 hours. Fuck, it could be less. It could be more. I can't even remember. I should watch that as well right away. But fuck, this game, man, if you're not a pro, then just get used to dying all the time. So this game is like, I started playing Destiny 2 before I played Marathon, and I loved it. I loved it. Oh my God, Destiny 2, and now like it's like dying. Fuck. Picked a wrong time to buy a gaming PC, so Destiny, Bungie, you better fucking make a Destiny 3. Do you fucking hear me? You better fucking make one. Because you know how this world is going, and you know what? Nobody's got anything better else to do but sit at home and play a good game. Destiny seems like the best game that has ever been created. All right, Bungie? So why did you even spend time in creating this? This is what Marathon is. This is a break. This is a break away from D2 for the pros in D2 to take a sweet ass break while one of the second best games in my mind to ever be created, except I don't like playing it because of the pros out there. I can't do a mission. It takes me 1 week to do a fucking mission because some of them you have to also do the specifics of the mission and plus exfil. And I'm getting sick and tired of using a fucking free fucking kit. This is getting to be bullshit in Marathon. No, this is... Yes, this is an extraction shooter, obviously, because we got an exfil, but... one of the most expensive items in the store is health and shields. So... I can't even afford to buy health and shields for whatever shit I am banking in my backpack or in my inventory. You know, I'm pretty good at collecting what I do have from my exfils, and I've lost one purple weapon. I've lost a few blue. And I can't get away from getting green or gray. Basic pieces. And then I go to put on attachments to make the weapon jump into a green or blue state. Then I go into a match and then I immediately die 2 minutes in because PvP is so brutal. It is so brutal. PvP is so fucking brutal in that game. Like, it's weird because it's like 10% of the time it's like, okay, where are all the runners? Where are all the players, man? And then you get to exfil, you feel awesome, you got something in your backpack. but you went in with the freebie, so you only had space for fucking nothing. So the game is brutal. It's so beautifully done. Oh my god, the image of that game is exactly what I want to see when I play this type of game. And if they can take away the extraction shooter part, like, the best way to keep Marathon alive before it actually flops dead right away, because, like, as good as it is, boys, I'll tell you what, I don't fucking want to play it anymore. I fucking bought Battlefield 6. That's better right now. I've got, just shrink this shit right now. What we got here? Yeah, man, like, Tom Clancy's The Division, that was fucking shit. That was awesome. Okay, haven't really gotten too far. Like, I just bought all these 3 months ago. So, I dipped my toes in, played with them. They're awesome. I really want to get into No Rest for the Wicked big time. Like, that game is going to be awesome. Marathon was awesome until the player versus player community slaughters everyone that's trying to do a fucking mission. And I can't even use items I bring back from my backpack because, like, I have to sell that shit realistically. And then when I do go in with something I want, I lose it within the first 2 minutes of jumping in. There's the PvP is brutal. If you're not a pro, you don't get to play Marathon. Right? So Bungie makes this fucking game, right? And only the pros can play it. So what, you got like a handful of pros in the world that were playing this game to try to get into play that Cairo map and to get into the vaults. I'm telling you right now, I could never. I can't fuck. The way PvP is, I'm scared to get out of perimeter. All right? Just to get into Dire Marsh is the next, oh shit, and then to go to fucking, yeah. You'd never see me in Cairo. And here's the other reason it sucks. Because when I go online to find a team and I find some guys that are talking, they're considerate, and nobody's like, you fucking suck. Good guys. So I friend them, and then I try to invite them, or like inviting is the first step, right? I invite you, you're playing your game still, right? So maybe after a couple missions, you notice the invite, so you just send another invite back to me, and I'll be like, all right, I see it when I jump back out or die. And then you start playing with the same person, because if you play with the same person, we learn how to fight together, PvP, as 2 to 3 people play all the time together, like the YouTube community, the pros, the PvP pros, like, they play together, okay? And I'm trying to create this shit. So why did I become a YouTuber? This is the main reason. I'm trying to play games for the first time in my life, and to try to find someone to play a game with, all right, it's like, okay, why did you accept my friendship? on a game. And I have constantly, not like constantly like spamming you. No, like I'll send out 2 invites just to let you know, like, I'm calling on you, and then I won't invite you. Oh, fuck. My headset just turned off? That's not good. Should be full. Should be full.
Flash,
be
Tony,
working
and Bungie
still.
want it, even if the game underneath the surface is a masterwork of.
But yeah, anyways, Marathon. Holy fuck. You get slaughtered. Straight up. Beautiful game. Sexy fucking game. Love this fucking game. Except, I can't put it any other way. The pros, the PvP pros, are the ones that are going to literally destroy and put this game in the grave. I'm not fucking lying. I'm not going to fucking lie. Player versus player is going to destroy this game. This game needs to learn, I think, one thing. Proximity chat should be forced on. Forced on. So that everyone around each other could hear each other. Because at this point, nobody will turn proximity chat on. So it's not like, hey, don't shoot, you want to help do some missions? No, it is a straight up fucking war zone. And it is a real war zone. That's why I like this game. But I want to level up. I want to upgrade. How do you upgrade? Well, you need the money. And you need to finish the missions. And there is missions from 6 different factions. And getting to level 38 with like 100 hours put in. I've only got 5 factions open. And one of them says to end 10 runners with your finisher. Man, not gonna lie. Only been playing first-person shooter for basically 3 to 6 months on a PC. Oh my god. Marathon is... I wish like the one way to keep Marathon alive is to turn it into Destiny, sort of speaking. You put in not just one specific type of run. You've got to you could use this as one specific run. Right? Because you got games that have so many different types of battle. Like when you go into Battlefield 6, you see an assload of different modes of games, like in so many different areas. So why can't Marathon stay alive? And just you have which characters you want to be, and then you have the Rook, which is your solo. So you have 2 different modes, and in Destiny Rising, you would just call it, what was it? Collecting the cubes. Oh, fuck. What mode in that game was that called again? Shifting gates. Yeah, shifting gates. All Marathon is, it's just shifting gates without collecting the cubes from fallen enemies. And they put a twist on it. It's an extraction. You got to. I forgive my voice. A couple days ago, I was yelling out the window because my neighbors are retards. But yeah, you keep this game alive by setting it up like the fucking mobile Destiny Rising. You set it up like fucking Destiny Rising. You fucking go into, your codex or whatever you fucking want to call it, your factions, your codex, whatever you fucking want to call it, add in another fucking section. I don't fucking care. But you keep Marathon alive because this is going to... I will start playing Marathon again if you can turn it into, what you guys got going on in Destiny 2. What you guys... I know Bungie wasn't solely creating the Destiny Rising on the mobile, but I mean, Marathon is just shifting gates. That's all it is. It's just one simple, different type of game mode that's put into a fucking first-person mobile shooter. Destiny Rising, like, it's a fucking good game, except for, again, if you're mobile, nobody turns on their fucking mic. How are you supposed to do the fuck? Man, it's like watching a fucking chicken in a farm yard play Destiny Rising sometimes. Like, you're trying to do a fucking mission, and there's 3 guys that are like way away from what we got to be doing, and they're jumping around back and forth doing, I have no idea what, but they look like chickens, like retards. But you make Marathon and have the characters and the rook, and you call it Shifting Gates. You can go into a Shifting Gates match, or you can go into this match, or you can go into this type of match. Marathon could have different fucking matches like they did. They did it in Destiny 2. So why can't you do it in fucking Marathon? Don't tell me you can't fucking make Marathon into fucking Marathon. I mean, don't tell me you can't take Marathon and make it work like D2. It doesn't have, like, every game mode could still be extraction, but it doesn't have to be PvP. Co-op mode away from PvP mode. How about that? There's a start. You come into Marathon and you got 2 modes, PvP and co-op. Ooh, simple. All right, I'll shut the fuck up and listen to Aztec Cross talk about how brutal this game is.
Design. There's a lot to love about Marathon, and the show ain't over yet. So this is an article written by Rice Elliott. Alinea Analytics estimates show that Marathon has generated gross revenue of $55 million via 1.2 million copies sold on Steam.
And there isn't a given exact number, but there's guesstimates that Marathon may have cost about $200 to $300 million to create throughout the years that they are working on this. All right, so to bring in $55 million when you have spent maybe $200 to $300 million creating this. That's a big hole they have dug themselves into, as far as I'm concerned. And they got a little bit of my money. And as far as the money that I spent towards Marathon, I just look at it like I'm growing up in the past. Oh, fuck, there's Rutgers. You go in there, you spend like $100 in 2 hours. You're down $100. I'll really be down $100 basically on Marathon if this game does a complete flop. Because if there's no players, like I'm not playing this game anymore, well, I've lost money. And they get to try to figure out how they can work with $55 million in a massive hole from, let's say they did spend $300 million. Well, you're $245 million in the hole.
PS5 and Xbox. Damn, look at this graph. Xbox
Oh, it's
people,
terrible.
Where y'all at? PlayStation people, where y'all at? Ah, damn. This is crazy to me because at one time, Bungie was primarily console. Seriously. I mean, console player base used to be the majority in all Bungie games, even in Destiny 2. I think it's still majority even now in Destiny 2. But who knows, man? I was not expecting this, though. I was not expecting, essentially, for Steam users to be double what Xbox and PlayStation is combined. Now,
to me, I think that was kind of
PS5
normal.
and Xbox. Steam is clearly the main platform for Marathon, accounting for a little under 70% of the audience, 800,000 copies sold. Meanwhile, PS5 takes about 19%, Xbox, including consoles, PC, and cloud. Oh my God.
And I think the reason why is because, let's say I have a console. That's more of a private unit, like my mobile phone, sort of speaking. I don't know if I could really justify saying it like that. But, you know, it seems like half the people who got consoles don't use their mics. So if that's the case, it becomes a more personal unit in my mind. If you're on a PC, I mean, you want to get decked out, right? And playing games, I've realized that nobody uses their mics, and I can't find a team member that's as good as me and more realistically better than me. You know, like I'll be your main backup basically until I really get going and getting good. But I wanted to get the PC. I wanted to start YouTubing. So if you start YouTubing, you know, it's like you build an audience after a while, and maybe some of that audience is like me who never leave the house. All right? Like at this point, I'm basically scared to leave the house. Weird to say, coming from me when I love to be outside. But the technology is giving me an excuse to stay inside too. And to play with technology, I can't find a team member. I get PC'd, I get decked out, and I want to play with people. So that's what Steam is. Steam is generally PC. So the pro players all run PC. They've been playing for years. They've got the muscle memory, the hand-eye coordination muscle memory. They're the ones that bought Marathon the most. And like, why wouldn't I buy Marathon when it's only $50? Fuck, I go to like Walmart, it's like $80, $90, right? So, Steam. That's why people bought it mostly on Steam. When you're buying a PS5, you gotta, I would assume, pay full price. The same with Xbox.
So all those included accounts for a bit over 11%. Marathon is technically a first-party Sony title, so seeing the home console struggle to break 20% of the volume is a notable data point for the ongoing platform-agnostic debate. PlayStation Studio online games will almost certainly continue being multi-platform, despite Sony reportedly pulling back on PC releases. As for Marathon, the consensus among
It's only Sony's problem. They were the ones that backed up Bungie, and if they didn't back up Bungie, I bet you Bungie would never have created Marathon and would have concentrated on D3, which is what the whole world is hoping for, Bungie. Okay?
hardcore players who push through their awkward onboarding phase, myself included, is that it's fantastic. The gunplay, static, and presentation are among the best
beautiful.
in the shooter genre.
It's the best game,
Like
best game in the
I'll
fucking...
be the first to raise my hand here and tell you I was planning on dooming this game all the way down. But we haven't put 200 hours in this game for no reason. They really got some stuff right. Now,
It's funny because Aztec, he's like, I'm going to fucking quit this fucking game. He was getting so pissed off. But here's an amazing thing that Aztec Cross has is he's got a team to play with. I don't. And even when the people accepted my friendship, when I asked them, they won't even accept an invite. So, like, are you guys not playing with other people? You know what? I don't think you can find a team unless you are a YouTuber. So,
going to be over the long run, I don't know. But especially with the crowd,
this game is going to lose
they really did
due to
YouTubers
guaranteed, which is just weird.
A great game doesn't always
and
equal
it
an
shouldn't.
immediate hit, though, as shown by our estimates. Things are looking lukewarm
You
right
need to
now,
separate
but this might be
PvP.
one of those marathon, not a
The co-op.
sprint situations. Why wasn't Marathon a hit on the same level as Arc Raiders? One topic that came up in a lot of conversations at GDC this year was why Marathon hasn't hit the same stratosphere as Arc Raiders. On paper, they're both extraction shooters, and Marathon has the Bungie pedigree, the house that built the gold standard for gunplay in Halo and Destiny. Marathon's neon, futuristic aesthetic also distinguishes itself from the gritty realism of Tarkov or the post-apocalyptic hope of Arc Raiders. But vibes can only get you so far for first impressions if the onboarding feels like a brick wall. Marathon is a sweaty, PvP-focused experience with a first-time user experience in UI that I can only describe as dreadful. Players are dropped into a complex ecosystem where the UI, visually striking, is functionally uninformative, forcing
very
users to manually
uninformative
hover over nondescript identical icons just to identify basic gear or weapon.
So, and like still like you don't know which direction you're going when you're playing this game. There's no mini map. So you got to open the map and figure out which way you're going. And I haven't even gotten to that point yet because I can't take my eyes off the screen because PvP. And when you're not worried about PvP, you got to worry about the UESC bots. And when you're not worried about the UESC bots, you got to worry about the ticks, the tick nests. You got to worry about the fucking mitochondriac poisoning. I think that's what it is. And fuck, that game is hard. They didn't get on the same level as Arc Raiders because Arc Raiders, it's an adventure before you die. Okay? An adventure before you die, or an adventure on a successful exfil. Marathon is far from that feeling. You're in a world where you don't know where you are. You're in a world that you don't know how to read. You're in a world where you have no idea what anything is. And, like, it's saying you got to use your mouse, you got to hover over everything, you got to read everything like crazy because everything looks the same. Like, yeah, things, look different once you're playing it for 100 hours. But that's where they ruined it, where you can't go in and experience this world as an adventure. They have set it up for only professional first-person shooters to play. And how many professional first-person shooters are out there? Watch YouTube. There's only a handful of teams that made to fucking Vault 7, and it took over 12 hours. This game was built to not survive. Like, what is this? Halftime for D3? Because you ain't going to make this game fucking survive if you don't put in a co-op version where PvP does not exist. As a gamer, we want to be able to experience this beautiful world. This is amazing to look through. I just want to walk through this game and find my enemies, find my bots, like I can in Arc Raiders. And it's like in Arc Raiders, everyone is on proximity chat. Okay, I can hear the other teams. And on an 85% of the times I've dipped into Arc Raiders, other teams are willing to work with you. One of my team members I didn't know at all, of course, we're like making friends with this one team to go do a big ass mission, and he accidentally taps his mouse by accident, shoots his gun, and seconds later we were all dead. That team's like, hey, I don't fucking care. You want to fucking shoot me I don't fucking care, you're dead. And that's basically the true attitude of everyone that comes into this game. That's the death of this game, is the absolute true PvP experience. And there's only a few pros out there. All right? There's only a few.
Mods. Yeah, we were talking
Not enough
the
pros
UI.
in the world to make this game survive.
You do get like a little
when we'll be talking about this more often too, is do you know how much it costs to fucking live? Do you know how many people could fucking afford to play your fucking game? Nobody fucking can afford to play this fucking game because nobody can afford to have a house over their heads. How many people are homeless? You got to give every single person a shoebox to live in. You need to give everyone a good computer that could play a game. And that's how you let this fucking world repair. You let money be made off of game players. That's how you're going to get homeless people off the street. Guaranteed. You give them something to do. Games give you something to do. They really do. They really do.
Familiar with it, like for instance, like bits per second. I guess at some point you're like,
there's not enough money in the world to make this game live.
Most of the time you have to hover
if it's pure PvP, this game is dead.
Feel like Marathon kind
because Aztec Cross kills me every time, guaranteed.
Do you feel like the intro mission, like once you get past that, do you feel like you just get shoved into the deep end way too quickly? Kind of, yep, in a good way.
You get fucked in the ass instantly.
Lack of clarity is compounded by punishing mechanics like a severe heat gauge for movement and a scarcity of vital resources, all without a clear tutorial or a low-stakes mode to learn the ropes.
Hey, learning while you play is part of the game, and I like that part. I like how hard it was to get to know everything. I like the heat system. That's all the heat system is. It's your fucking endurance. It's your stamina. Like every game in this fucking world, we work on our stamina if you're going to be into your RPGs or MMORPGs, blah, 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 blah. You want good stamina so you can be fucking swinging that fucking sword and dodging the shit. Okay? And that's what this game brings, is the heat. You're a machine. You're a cyborg. And your conscience gets put into your bot every time you get deployed. So your machine is going to have these heat limitations. You can only run for so long, If you're in the rain, it keeps you cooler. If you squat, you really cool down quick. And blah, blah, blah. It's fun
Most people,
to figure out all the
shooter
quirks.
players have no idea what's going on in
I
Marathon
love the
at
game
first.
for it, but
Arc
the
is on
PvP is
complete
literally
other
ruining
end
the
of
game.
spectrum. As we covered here, Arc Raiders offers a more collaborative, approachable loop where players often work together towards shared goals, and the objectives are instantly clear. To many players, this contrast only emphasizes Marathon's issues, especially during the testing period. Players understand the Arc Raiders loop within 30 minutes, while Marathon acts as a massive filter, chewing up newcomers and spitting them out before they can experience the depth of Bungie's signature gunplay. I'm not gonna lie, man, this is kind of on point when you think about it, boys. Like we could defend it all day long. Marathon is a great game. I really do believe that. However, Destiny's kind of got the same problem. The onboarding has never been good. Sounds like a skill issue? Sure, we can make those comments, right? I don't know, man. Let's continue. What I'm getting at here is that the poor first-time user experience of Marathon Server Slam likely stifled launch sales, while the opposite was true for Arc. Let's look at the pre-launch copies sold for each game during the respective Server Slams launch align. Marathon struggled to convert demo players to pre-launch sales. All right, so you got Arc Raiders here, Server Slam there, and then Marathon Server Slam there.
That's bad numbers.
Yeah,
That's
man.
bad
I mean,
numbers.
Marathon is it's just such a hardcore game, guys. There's no safe pockets. You die, you lose everything. It's also a first-person shooter, which I prefer. I do like first-person shooters, but there's no humanity in it. Most people, when I say most people, like 95% of everyone you come across inside a Marathon shoot on sight. And the 5% that don't shoot on sight, you'll see they get killed. You know what I mean? There'll be a rook out there that's like, I'm friendly. And then they'll walk around the corner and they just get blasted. Now, while both games were tracking similarly in sales 3 weeks before launch, Arc saw a massive spike after its Server Slam, while Marathon saw just a small bump. Now, looking at the trajectory, Arc Raiders saw a massive 80% jump in copies sold during its 3-day Server Slam, day 13 to 11. Players jumped in, realized the water was fine, and immediately opened their wallets. Marathon, meanwhile, saw a 49% increase in 4 days following its slam, day 7 to 3. At the time of each game's respective launch, Arc Raiders had nearly doubled the Steam footprint of Marathon, and word of mouth only continued to grow. I would say this right here is the story for Arc Raiders. It was word of mouth, man. It really was. Now, there were a lot of people that
I'd
were
have to
jumping
say,
in
yeah.
and saying they were talking shit about it.
Because, yeah, word of mouth. Word of mouth.
Slowly, you started to see those same folks convert. Now, Bungie could have had more time to fix the onboarding process had the beta happened earlier, but Marathon launched 3 days after the beta finished. These factors limited the launch sales quite a bit, I reckon. Yes, we even talked about that. Like,
oh, God, that
the
was...
Server Slam being so close to the launch window, there was just not enough adjusting. You could do no adjusting, really, other than, like, from a technical sense. It's not like they could have added a different onboarding process at that point. Marathon has found a niche audience, though. Despite the friction-heavy start, the data suggests that those who survived Marathon's onboarding are loving life. We've been tracking cross-platform DAUs, and while there's the expected post-launch leakage, many players are sticking with it.
No, we're not sticking with it because it's become fucking ridiculous already. I can never get out alive, which means I can't upgrade. Number 2, I can't find a steady team member. So we could never accomplish missions together. Can't upgrade past a certain point, basically, because I need a real team member who are home all the time like me. Like, I've got 24 hours a day to fucking do this. And nobody that I know, because I don't know anybody, I need to meet people online. This game, like, it's dead.
Peaking at 478,000 total
And I want it to stay alive, but it's dead. It's straight up, it's dead.
DAUs on its first Saturday. Marathon has settled into a respectable rhythm, holding 345 DAUs as of yesterday and averaging 380,000 DAUs across the weekend. Daily active users. Now, Steam continues to do the heavy lifting here, consistently accounting for the lion's share of the daily players. Players have been putting in the hours in too. On Steam, Marathon's average playtime has climbed to 27.8 hours, significantly outpacing the console average on PS5 at 16.5 hours and Xbox 17.3. What in the world? Fellas, this story is actually deeper, man. The console community just didn't show up. Actually, where Steam is at is where I'm actually surprised where Steam is at. But, you know, I was just expecting the console population to show up in a big way. But you're telling me...
No, it can't, because consoles are more people who actually go to work 8 hours a day.
Console players are casual gamers.
Sorry,
Why is
12.
it surprising? That's a great point. That is a great point. No offense, console guys, but most consoles are a bit more casual. I got my friend who
I just
is
said
a
that,
chiropractor and has played Destiny for years. Doesn't want to play Marathon simply because it's hardcore as f. To him, the thought of obtaining loot and then losing it was like the most unappealing thing to him. Now, this data suggests that once the Bungie magic clicks, it hooks players deeper than the average extraction shooter. There's also started to be a
No,
shift
it
in
hooks
the
me
game's
because of
discourse.
the
Marathon
aesthetics.
launched as one of those games that's cool to hate.
The aesthetics is what
Marathon's
grabbed me.
100-hour
I
club
want the
grows.
aesthetics
We're
in the
seeing
game.
conversations around its mechanical
The
merit
PvP
outweigh
can
its
suck
negativity.
my dick.
Several high-profile creators who were initially vocal critics have spent the last week coming around on the mechanical depth of the end game. As a subtle but positive signal, the hate train is losing steam and a new narrative about the game is emerging. Bungie's faithful unite. Another interesting metric in Marathon's first week is who exactly is playing. Bungie leans heavily on its prestige as the makers of Halo and Destiny in its marketing, and that message has clearly hit the mark. On Steam, the gravity hammer of Bungie's previous work is unavoidable. A staggering 78.2% of Marathon players also played Destiny 2. Jesus. The trend carries across other platforms, with 74.2% of PlayStation 5 players and 82.7% of Xbox players also having played Destiny 2. The Halo legacy lives on, it seems. More on that in a bit. While Destiny 2 went free to play, these numbers still
I gotta
represent a
play
high,
that more,
intense
Halo.
migration of a fan base that trusts Bungie's specific brand of kinetic gunplay and cryptic world building. Look at this, guys. So Marathon players on Steam, what else have they played? 78% played Destiny 2, 62 Helldivers, dude, this is definitely in line. Arc Raiders 55%, Halo Infinite 52, Battlefield 6 44, and then Halo.
I wonder how good Destiny 2 is holding up right
This
now.
is pretty much in line. I mean, when you guys, the games y'all wanted me to play, think about even like what we've covered here on the channel. A lot of Helldivers, a lot of Arc Raiders. We jumped into the Halo games, and y'all made me play Battlefield 6. And then, of course, Destiny 2. I didn't expect Helldivers, but I guess the game was really big. Oh, Helldivers is massive, dude. I mean, think about it. When Helldivers dropped, I'm gonna be honest, there was like a 30-day period where us, like all of us, like every Destiny player I knew, stopped playing Destiny and played Helldivers. Some of those guys even come back. Look, man, Helldivers, I don't think y'all realize how big. Like, I'm just letting you know from just our videos on the channel. Them views were popping, brother. I mean, Helldivers was popping. And look, I went into that game thinking it was gonna be a meme. Especially
That's the
considering
one
trailers
game I
and
don't
stuff.
have yet,
But that
basically.
game was popping. Arc Raiders did pretty good too. But Helldivers was really popping. And it also just made sense for a Destiny player that loves PvE. So many went to Helldivers. Now, the Xbox data adds another layer of legacy. About 85.7% of Marathon players on Xbox have played Halo Infinite, while over half the Steam audience has spent time in Halo Infinite and 36.1% in the Master.
Well, and here, let's face it. If you're a fan of any of these games in the past, don't you want to give Marathon a try? That's why I bought it.
Chief Collection, a paid collection of the old Bungie-made legacy games. Interestingly, we see a 55.9% overlap with Arc Raiders on Steam. Overlap is even higher there on PlayStation at 60.5% and Xbox 66.5%. And there's also significant crossover with Helldivers 2 on all platforms. Bungie has found some of its fans with Marathon, and the challenge now is keeping this engaged in a high-stakes PvP environment when they've spent the last decade primarily enjoying the power fantasies of PvE. On that note, Go the full 26 miles or cut and run. Time for some could've, should've, and would've. These things would have improved Marathon's performance at launch. A more robust onboarding process, perhaps in the form of a short single-player PvE campaign. We know Bungie fans loves this stuff. What if Bungie would have added like some sort of like small Marathon campaign?
That's what I'm saying, right?
Connected to the original trilogy. But why? I don't know, dude. There's actually a lot of like lore lovers out there that love Marathon for that. You know what I'm saying? All right, secondly, a traditional arena-based mode akin to Destiny's Crucible could have been a bridge for the cautious players who have been otherwise deterred by the server slam. It's also a great palate cleanser after getting murked. Introducing a
that
dedicated
Aztec
PvE
makes
environment
great
would have
videos.
similarly diversified
Make
the
sure you
conversation
guys
and lower the barrier for the Bungie
go
faithful who
and
found the pure
follow
PvP
and
extraction
subscribe
loop
to him if you
abrasive.
don't.
PvE is safer than PvP these days. I'm gonna be honest. I think the reason why you didn't see much of a PvE side of this game, Bungie's in a weird situation where they could be eroding one game for another. And you already see it happening right now with Marathon and Destiny. But if you lean too much on the PvE side, even something as simple as, you know, like a dedicated loot pool or something like that, I think there was some concern that they would lose too many Destiny players to Marathon. And then you're in this weird situation, kind of like semi-competing with yourself. Now, there's an argument that a thin PvE mode would have just felt like a budget Destiny.
That's a
potentially hurting the
very
brand
good
more,
point,
but given
though.
how dire
He's
the
very
FTE
smart to say that.
is, I think it would have been a net positive. Any kind of tutorialized loop that demystifies the stakes, really. While there is merit in a studio sticking firmly to a singular creative vision and going all in on the hardcore extraction loop, less forgiving is the technical reality is that the user interface and the first-time user experience were not at a commercial standard for launch. I mean, guys, look, I've had open conversations with some of the devs at Bungie, specifically Marathon developers. They really prided themselves on just how difficult the game is. You know, they really prided themselves on its difficulty, it's the competitive
Hey Siri,
nature
turn
of
on
it.
living room.
They liked that Marathon was going to be like the ultimate challenge, especially when you talk about
Hey Siri, turn on
of which
kitchen.
I also like. I love that aspect too. But even Destiny, even though it has very difficult raids, still has a patrol space, still has strikes, still has, you know, like these small areas where one can dip their toes and not be just thrown into the deep end. And someone here will say, well, Cross, that does exist. Perimeter exists. Dire Marsh exists. They're still kind of the deep end, you know? Now, in a landscape where player time is oversaturated and the most contested currency, a flawed FTUE
read my
is a
hand
critical failure
gesture.
point. But it's not all doom and gloom, as Marathon has an incredible, unique gameplay loop, suggesting that financial success is still attainable if Bungie can pivot effectively. Bungie and PlayStation now faces a difficult strategic crossroads, though one within a challenging games market. They could double down on Marathon with a long-term Rainbow Six Siege or No Man's Sky style recovery plan, which is something I heard Last Stand's Media's Chris Maldonado mentioned last week. While this could be a sunk cost fallacy in action, it could eventually yield the audience the game's mechanical depth deserves. They could shift focus toward the inevitable Destiny 3 or another project, mitigating the escalating opportunity costs and cutting their losses, so to speak. Doing both is an expensive proposition given the high overhead and burn rates of operating out of Bellevue, Washington. With Sony recently demonstrating a lower threshold for underperforming studios and projects, the margin for error has vanished. This is tough, man. I definitely respect the vision of Marathon and what it's bringing here. However, I think Destiny 3, you should full send it. I
Full
think Destiny 3
send it,
is
yeah.
worth the full send.
Yeah.
I think so many people would pick up a D3. I better be a little greedy here. Both? We just try to do both. You know what I mean? And also the other side of things is like doubling down on Marathon. What does that even mean? You know, what does that really mean here? You got the money? I mean, look, man. No. But you've got buyers. You've got buyers. We would buy a D3. I don't really know about Marathon, though. Like, I love Marathon. It scratches so many things that I never knew needed to be scratched. It is the shooter I didn't know I need. But at its core, it will always have this.
I need to get better at PvP.
I would say this right now. If Bungie
I'm so
came out
far
right now and said,
behind,
okay,
it's not even
Marathon, we have
funny.
safe pockets. You think that's really going to turn the tide? You know what I mean? You think
It's
that's
not even
really
funny.
going to make people pick it up? You say, okay, Marathon adds PvE. Let's just be real. The PvE is just not going to stack up in comparison to Destiny. You know, Destiny, it really nails the hero fantasy. People hate the art style. Most of the hate is about it not looking like boomer shooters. I don't really know. Like, people really hate the art style that much. I actually like Marathon's art style.
Loved
I actually think it's a sexy
Marathon's
game.
art style.
Look, man,
Yeah.
like, I just think people got shit on, dude. I'm truly, I think this is what happened. I think a lot of people picked up the game. A lot of people played the damn server slam, and they just got shit on, dude. They loaded into a game. They walked into a building and a bunch of claymores killed them. And then they loaded
That's
back into
right,
another
that's
game
right.
and damn bots sucked them off. I think people just got shit on and said, you know what?
Fuck this.
What am I doing this for? I'm gonna get a bunch of good loot just to die and lose it? It's like there
That's
was like
right.
a period there after the first day I played in the server slam where I really just sat there and I was like, I remember I ended the stream and I sat here and I was like, man, what is Bungie trying to do here? What are they really trying to do here? I was like, I like the gunplay, you know, but like I
love the
feel
gunplay.
just incredibly weak. And then the next day I got up and I loaded up the stream and I started playing again. And I started getting a few more upgrades. And suddenly, I don't know, something just clicked. Something weird just clicked. And it was like, all right, no, you're not the main protagonist from the original Marathon trilogy. You're just a runner. You're expendable. You're meant to die. It's why all the trailers you were shown was you dying. And with each death, you're supposed to get a little bit further and get a little bit better. And it was like, okay, I'm not the hero here. I'm just a scavenger, essentially. And I'm just trying to, it's like a game of just trying to move a little bit further, inch by inch with every match. And so I think it really,
And I run
for a
in too
Destiny
fast
player,
still,
the ghost
so.
that revives you, and with a number of abilities at your fingertips,
gotta learn.
it takes you all of like a couple quests to get. It's a big difference. Now, whatever happens, the next 6 months will determine whether Marathon becomes a cornerstone of Sony's live service portfolio or a cautionary tale of vision exceeding accessibility. I'm hoping it's the former because Marathon rocks. As always, hit subscribe to get updates on Marathon and other relevant games. Look, man, I completely agree here. I think Marathon, and look, I see your comments. So many comments across. I can't tell you. I've got so many comments over the past 30 days of like the angriest Destiny players ever, man. By the way, when you comment on YouTube, I can always like pull up your name and look at your previous comments. And it's just so many people just upset that we've been playing Marathon. And here's the thing, Destiny players. It's not that I don't want to play Destiny. And I will still come back to play a little bit of Destiny. I know there's Guardian games out, but come on, man. You know what I mean? This is not a whole lot. What do you want me to do about it? You know what I mean? Go give Dado hell. Dado's playing Deadlock. You know what I'm saying? Don't give Dado hell. I'm joking. Anyways, I think Marathon is a really solid game. It's a brutal game. And I've related this to like playing the first time I played Dark Souls 3. I picked up Dark Souls 3. I went into the tutorial. I made it to the first boss and I got shit on. And then I loaded back in. I got shit on again and over and over. And at some point I was like, dude, who voluntarily plays this shit? Is this really what people find enjoyable? And then something happened, dude. Like something snapped in my head. I finally killed the tutorial boss. And it was just like a moment of triumph where I was like, I did that shit. Now, quickly, I found out that was obviously the easiest boss in the game. And everything else past that point continued to shit on me. There was never a point where I was like, dude, I am the master. It was just continuous getting shit on as I got further and further. Maybe in New Game Plus or something like that, you get a little bit better. But that at least was my first Souls experience. Was like, this is going to be an extremely painful 100 hours. But then there was just something addicting about it. There are different types of gamers out there. There are some of you out there that like your little cat games or Enjoy, Sims, maybe your little strategy. I love Rome Total War. Look, man, I'm there with you. You're vibe gamers, right? The kind of people that, I don't know, love life and enjoy their free time, I suppose. And then there's your psychos. And I really think those of us that like Marathon are a little bit psycho because it is a painful game. The Cryo Archive is one of the most painful, sweatiest things I have ever done in all of gaming. Dude, when my legs start shaking in the middle of a gaming sessions, like I'm sitting there gaming and I'm playing on Cryo Archive and shit's going down and my legs start shaking. That's when you fucking know you in the shit right now. It looks rough to play for anyone not completely hardcore about it. That is the addicting aspect of it. It's like I've been ruined at this point. Other games just don't quite do it for me anymore, you know?
He's definitely
I want a game
ruined.
that's gonna make my
He's
legs
definitely
shake.
ruined.
And maybe other games will.
May he
Not
wants
like
to play
Marathon.
games that make his legs shake.
Guys, I hope
That's
Marathon
what she said.
survives. I really do. I hope Marathon survives. I hope we get a Destiny 3. I hope Bungie doesn't go under. And I hope that, because I really do think that they have a very, very talented team. We can draw conclusions on whatever led to this point. You know, maybe it was the bad publicity from a year ago. Maybe it's the fact that Arc Raiders just came out before it. And the community that plays Arc Raiders, they don't want anything but Arc Raiders. They fucking love that thing. And you know what? My Arc Raider community reminds me a lot of Helldiver community. They're just deeply embedded. They love their game, and that's all they want to play. Maybe it's just that it ain't it. Maybe my tastes and what I like in video games doesn't quite align with the general gamer. And we talked about this earlier, where I think even our generation is just kind of dying out in a way. People are just not committing to games like big MMORPGs like they used to, that may require thousands of hours. People are not committing to games like Destiny like they used to. So I'm talking about like the younger generation. They're just not doing it, man. They don't want to play games like that. And I'm gonna be honest.
No, they all want to be YouTubers or something stupid.
Most of what I see from what's trending is IRL streams, TikTok, all that stuff, short form content, sitting down and being like, all right, I'm going to sit here and play this game over a 100 to 200 hour time frame. I don't know if it's necessarily resonating with the younger crowd. Some like missionary, some just want to get handcuffed and choked out in marathon. Yeah. For me, reason why I'm bringing this up is like one day I may wake up and games that I've loved my whole life, whether that be Destiny, whether that be other MMORPGs that require
I'm scared
hours,
because I didn't play.
RuneScape, you know what I mean? Whether that be Marathon in this case, whether it be Souls games, which I think Souls games, Elden Ring, all that stuff is still going to always pop. But we may wake up in a world where those type of games are just not being made as frequently anymore, as it just doesn't resonate with people like it used to. I also think that a lot of it is due to time too. I think our generation especially is just getting busy as and you only have so many hours in a day, To be fair, this game is a cakewalk compared to Tarkov in terms of everything. So I know people in the extraction shooter genre like this game. So you're saying Marathon
give me a second.
is a lot easier than Tarkov?
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Because Shroud actually had a clip where he talked about that maybe the Cryo Archive map is too complex.
Well, yeah, this update's good, and this Cryo Archive is insane. It's the most elaborate extraction shooter map I've ever seen in a game ever. The loop that they made is truly something special. The problem is it too elaborate? Is it too complex? Is it too much of a grind? Is your 9-to-5 grandma and grandpa going to be able to do it?
What are we bringing? I have 3, so
I don't know.
wasn't here for a little bit.
Tarkov is viciously difficult in comparison. Tarkov is harder, yeah. I haven't played enough Tarkov. I've only played one day of it. I enjoyed it. GTK is very fast, like instant. I think if I was a game developer, game director, considering how difficult you guys are saying Tarkov is, and I guess how casual Arc Raiders is, I think trying to straddle that in between those two is, probably a good strategic choice, and see if you can find that market. You know what I mean? If Arc Raiders wouldn't have come out, this would have banked. I mean, if Arc Raiders wouldn't have come out, maybe. At the same time, maybe if Marathon would have actually came out last September, but it just wasn't ready, guys. The game was not ready. Look, man, I'm glad Arc Raiders came out. I had a great time playing Arc Raiders. To be quite honest with you, I probably would have kept playing it if it was a first-person shooter. I don't mind third persons. I mean, hell, you see me playing Deadlock and stuff. I probably would have ended up staying with Arc Raiders if it was a first-person shooter. And a huge reason why I picked up Marathon was because it is a first-person shooter, and of course, it's, I wanted to experience what Bungie was working on next. People are still in Arc's Discord complaining that PvP exists in the game. We'll see, man. I mean, you never know, man. Bungie might end up implementing something like that. I don't know if they will, but they may end up implementing some sort of like aggression-based matchmaking to see if it can help the casual players out more. But even, I really just don't think anyone really trusts each other inside of Marathon. Everyone, for the most part, shoots on sight. Can I just say this? I love how 1.2 million copies of anything is considered failure. You know what I'm coming from? Like, or not good. 1.2 million people. Good God. That to me is still a lot of people. What are the internal targets out there? And I know we can make comparisons to like how many copies were sold of Crimson Desert or this or that game, It was a 200 to 400 million budget. I'm going to pause the music right now. Do you realize what you just said? People be throwing numbers out here and literally like, do you realize the range of what you're saying there? You casually just go, it was between 200 and 400 million to make this game. Motherfucker, that's a 200 million spread. What kind of range is that? First up, secondly is this. Where you getting your number from, man? Hold on, for real. Where are you getting your numbers from? I don't fucking know, actually. Fine, say it. It was on the lower end of 200 million. But how do you know? How do you know it's on the lower end of 200 million? Where do you get this information? How do we know it wasn't 100 million? I tell you, this is how we're going to know. If it gets disclosed to us in the next earning call from Sony. And we'll tune in for that. We'll tune in for that. We'll see what they have to say. I guarantee they will talk about it. They will definitely talk about it. And we'll see what they have to say about it. Bro, the marketing cost alone was probably $100 million. How do you know? How do you know it was $100 million? That's what I say, guys. Do we realize how astronomical these fucking numbers are? And then secondly, are you speaking from someone who understands industry rates, who knows what's happening behind the scenes, who knows the numbers, or are we just pulling shit out of our ass? How do you know? Look at Destiny 1 and Destiny 2's marketing budgets. I'm gonna be honest, boys. You guys got the numbers wrong on Destiny so much. And as someone who baited you many times in multiple Doom videos for Destiny, when we put in the title $500 million, it was a bit disingenuous. What we were really saying was, yes, it was a $500 million budget, but spread out over multiple years. Okay? And again, even that number is up to speculation. Made for good headlines. On the Marathon front, though, I don't fucking know. I don't know how much it costs to make Marathon. I don't know what their budget is. I have no idea. Does that still take away from 1.2 million copies probably not hitting the mark? I'm sure Sony expected more. They're probably sitting there comparing it to like Helldivers and even Destiny, right? They probably expected more. At the same time, I don't know how much more. You're making a hardcore extraction shooter. Internally, what were you hoping to hit? Concord cost $400 million, so it's reasonable to say Marathon was at least that much. I'm gonna be honest, dude. There ain't no way Concord cost $400 million and it be legal. There's some sus shit going on with that. Then let me just say Concord in general, some sus shit going on with that whole thing. Supposed $400 million budget, secret level episode, yet you produce a hero shooter with no ultimates? Get the fuck out of here. This game could have easily been Gambit 3.0 on the 4 new destinations in a larger Destiny 3, splitting the player base with the biggest mistake ever while milking 80% of the community. Canadian, I don't agree with you. You know why? Because I've been observing the Destiny community now for over a decade. And you know when they bitched the most? When they were told they had to go play competitive for Mountaintop and Recluse. You're sitting here acting like Destiny players are ready to jump into hardcore content when they bitch about raids. And they want it to be watered down. They got told that they had to get Luna's How and Not Forgotten by ranking up inside a comp. And they said, F that. And they bitched so much that Bungie literally removed pinnacle weapons. You're telling me that an extraction mode would have existed in Destiny and would have done well? No, it wouldn't. People would have lost their minds to the point where Bungie probably would have had to remove it. I still stand by this. The beginning of the end for Destiny was in Black Armory. When Bungie capitulated. Forges came out, and you know the first Reddit thread that I saw that popped up after I got off my stream? I paid for this. Why can't I do it? It wasn't he didn't have access to it. By the way, it was a highly upvoted Reddit thread of a person who said, I paid for it. I should be able to do this content. What did Bungie do the next day? They came out and they nerfed Forges. They capitulated. They said, hey, we're sorry. We made the content too hard. Here you go. Now you can do it. Thank God raids continued to be challenging, at least for day ones. And thank God Bungie didn't pull another Root of Nightmares with Salvation's Edge and made that shit challenging. That was the beginning of the end. And soon after that, though, we saw them do away with pinnacle weapons. We saw them do away with even going flawless inside of trials. We saw them do away with having to even get comp rank to get weapons. Everyone became a winner. Marathon is obviously not that kind of game. So you saying that Bungie should have just added this inside of Destiny, the Destiny player base would not have ever accepted this. Hell,
Hey
they get
Siri,
pissed off just
kitchen
being told to
bulb
go play Gambit.
turn
Look, man, Destiny players.
yellow.
I want a Destiny 3, and I will make it my life's mission to make sure that it is what it needs to be. The true pinnacle looter shooter experience. You've watered down Destiny 2 for me. I refuse to let you fuck
Hey
up Destiny
Siri,
3.
kitchen
Comments
bulb
like I paid for this,
turn
therefore I
cayenne.
deserve it. The handing out of exotics just because you paid for it. And by the way, this is not just completely y'all's fault. It's also Bungie's fault. They didn't have to fucking do it.
Siri,
They're the ones
turn
that slapped
kitchen bulb on.
exotics into battle passes and whatnot. They fucking did this shit to themselves. Now, whether we even make it to this point, who knows? But if you're a Destiny player right now, and
Hey
you're
Siri.
like, across,
Hey
I
Siri.
don't know how to become this
Turn kitchen
ultimate
bulb
gamer that you
teal.
speak of. I want to introduce you to a game that can show you the way. See, there's a game called RuneScape.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.
Escape. all right. So I was going to go through a little bit more of that. I'm getting hungry. Shit.
The fact you need to beg for a live service game to exist these days is why this entire thing is pretty stupid if you ask me. They kept saying that this wouldn't happen.
Gotta talk about how fucking sad that this game
again,
is.
not even a month after release, and already
Not even a
Bungie
month
is
after.
knocking on death's door, wondering if this is it for them. Like the volatile state of games, that's nothing new. However, it saddens me how often we find ourselves here because of the audacity of what AAA just keeps on pushing. The entire concept of a live service game, for me at this point, it just kind of sounds like a crazy proposition in its entire way of existing. Like, what do you mean? You have a game you spend hundreds of millions of dollars on to make, and you spend all these years creating it, and you're telling me that unless enough people play it every single day for like the rest of time, that this game will just suddenly evaporate, and that all my
That's so
progress
fucked
will
up.
be erased, and that any money I spent on the game will
Like
either be taken
if
from
you're
me
gonna make
or
a live
refunded if
service
I'm lucky.
game
How is
also,
this a model of game that we're
you
supposed to
need
be okay with? Like,
to
before we
already
mostly had
have
single-player games.
a
Even if they
warehouse
didn't do the best sales-wise, right,
that's
they would
made
at least
just
still
for
exist. You could still
your
play them because
one
they didn't
live
rely on
service
some
game.
infinite number
So there's
of
going to be a
people to
warehouse
exist at all
running
times to keep them alive. But that's the reality
marathon
of online games now, isn't it?
server
They are uniquely the one kind of
servers
game that can
running for
effectively
all
just
time.
disappear
You want to
into
make
the
a
ether
game,
unless they're
make
doing
it right.
100% of the time. And isn't that
Don't
kind
fucking
of
make
insane?
it.
Imagine
Have
if
everyone
every
give you a bunch
movie
of their
that
own
flopped at the
money,
box office didn't
and
even
then
come out to
you
be
go
rated or
fucking out of a
streamed.
job
Instead, they would
after.
just
Like, it doesn't make
erase
any
the
sense.
movies if they didn't hit a certain threshold or money. Or like, what if that happened to music even, right? Oh, that album you like? Well,
Say
it didn't
that
hit the sales
again,
numbers
right?
that it needed day one or week one. So, well, now nobody gets the one kind of game that can effectively just disappear into the ether unless they're doing well 100% of the time. And isn't that kind of insane? Imagine if every movie that flopped at the box office didn't even come out to be rented or streamed. But instead, they would just erase the movies if they didn't hit a certain threshold or money. Or like, what if that happened to music even, right? Oh, that album you like? Well, it didn't hit the sales numbers that it needed day one or week one. So, well, now nobody gets to listen to it now. We're just going to erase that music from existing because you didn't support it. Oh, not enough kids came to your little cousin's birthday party? Well, that little cousin didn't hit the needed party members, so now we're going to be putting them up for adoption. That last one might not be the best analogy, but like, come on, still, isn't this kind of crazy sounding no matter what? Like, yet in video games, if you
it was
don't
a funny
attract a big enough
analogy.
audience in your live service, whatever game, well, surprise, nobody has a job now. The game's world is just erased and nobody who bought the game is allowed to play it anymore. So this now brings me to Marathon, which like its name suggests just keeps on moving, bless its little heart. This game has not been doing too hot, and a lot of information has now come out, and honestly, I already think we're going to be seeing massive changes to this game. As Forbes reported here, Marathon is a good game, but it's not a hit. In other news, you also need oxygen to breathe. So, all of this information is coming from Alinea Analytics, which kind of blew the hinges off the door recently on Marathon's performance so far. So, we now know officially, like, the sales numbers for Marathon. So, what do you think it is? 3 million, maybe 5 million copies sold? Well, look at this right now.
1.2
Marathon has
million.
officially sold 1.2 million units since release and made about $55 million and has about 380,000 daily active users so far. Now,
It's
is
not
this
that much.
bad? Well, if you're a small game with very little overhead and you're a single developer who eats noodles every day, no, then this is fine. But if you're a AAA studio in Washington, of all places, where it's more expensive than God to live, and you're backed by Sony, and you were bought for $3 billion promising the next big thing, yes, this is very bad. So let's dive into the details, I guess. And like, of that 1.2 million, right, about 800,000 of those sales were on Steam. Bizarrely, only 217,000 people bought Marathon on PlayStation, which is kind of wild considering it's a first-party Sony game, by the way. The smallest group, like usual, is Xbox, sitting at 133,000 players, or 11% of the overall pie. So Steam is 70%, PS5 is 19%, and all of this makes up the player base, which is is, very dire indeed. Anyways, according to Alania during GDC, or the Game Developers Conference, many conversations had among developers was apparently according to them as to why Marathon wasn't pulling the Arc Raiders like numbers it should have. Despite the fact that they're both extraction shooters, and Bungie is a big name in like games and all that, the answer that Alania came to themselves is that Arc Raiders gameplay loop was a lot easier to figure out for the common gamer, while Marathon's UI, for example, alone was already filtering players because it was confusing for really no reason. And in Alania's opinion, the experience of Marathon as a whole ends up chewing up a lot of newcomers that come and try the game and then spits them out before they can even figure out what the experience of this Marathon game even is. So they like leave.
Oh, that's what he means. Like spits them out, like they just get so turned off by the gameplay, they just leave. It spits them right out.
Before the game gets good, if you will. It's also because Arc Raiders is far more casual friendly, while Marathon pushes for the high-end PvP experience, which a lot of people can't do because they're not streamers or Call of Duty Twitch gods, but people with, normal jobs, which is fine, by the way. Meaning that
Just like I
Marathon
said.
was made for the streamers and the high-end PvPers and kind of forgot about the people who actually keep these sorts of games alive. Alania also reported that when Arc Raiders had their free server slam test, they saw an 80% jump in copies sold. Whereas for Marathon, it was 49%. Not bad, but the only healthy number for Marathon somewhat is its daily active users. Again, that sits somewhere near 345 to 380,000 players per day apparently, which isn't bad, but not a swimming success either. The average playtime of a Marathon player on Steam so far is almost 28 hours, and on PS5 it's barely 17 hours. And about 7% of overall players who played Marathon have logged in over 100 hours already. According to Alania, this brings Marathon to a crossroads based on the data that they have collected, because during the same time period, Arc Raiders was able to shoot past like a few million copies sold in the time that it's taken Marathon to only hit 1.2 million themselves. But it's already worrying when about 2/3 of your player base that bought Marathon already are kind of moving on looking at those daily active user counts. This puts Bungie in a really weird position. So do they either A, double down on everything and spend more resources on this game and hope that they can turn things around? Or do they B, move their resources away from Marathon and just kind of let it die and focus all their bets on a Destiny 3 instead? Alania believes that in the next 6 months at best that Marathon will either be amazing and healthy or it's just not going to exist. And that's a crazy bet considering the outcomes of these two scenarios, but that's live service, baby. It's all a mess. You either sink or you swim, and in Marathon's case, they're kind of just floating in the water right now, trying to stay afloat and, not drown themselves. But knowing Sony and just how cutthroat they are when it comes to failure, the likelihood is unless Marathon turns things around, it's going to be curtains for that game. So I'm writing this video at noon on a Wednesday, so I understand people are mostly at work right now. But here's the Steam charts. As I write this, 24,000 people are currently sweating their cheeks off in Marathon as I speak, with a 24-hour high count of about 42,000 people. And remember, this is on Steam, so this is Marathon's primary platform because we know that 800,000 people have bought it here. But that also means currently of all the people who bought Marathon on Steam right now, that about 3% of that player base is playing it currently on Steam. And when people return home, that means about 6 or 7% of the Steam player base is still playing the game currently. That's not me trying to get a gotcha, that's just basic math. Like, fine, alright, I'll even be fair and use the 42,000 high peak for 24 hours, right? And look here, I asked Google so that we can all see 42,000 is 5.25% of the people who bought Marathon on Steam that are currently playing it. So there you go. That means about 95% of the player base has left already on Marathon's main platform at its peak, mind you, when people come home and are able to still play it. So that
It's because the PvP. It's the PvP. The PvP can suck a dick in this game.
Online at its highest peak when it came out. These are not the best numbers for your
Majority of us are
Bungie
not
studio buyouts
pro
that you were
YouTubers.
selling. Sure, Marathon made $55 million, but the game allegedly costed way more than what they're making. The alleged cost of Marathon was somewhere near $200 to $300 million for Sony and Bungie. And I already know people are going to say, where did you hear this? Where is this number from? Well, Paul Tassi of Forbes, who has ties to Bungie and confirmed, as you can see here, he cross-referenced that 1.2 million copies sold with the people that he knows at Bungie and the numbers are, according to Paul's sources, pretty much the same, so that is indeed what Marathon has sold so far. So now that you know that, and he confirmed it himself, now look here where Paul then confirms in his own article on the sales of Marathon, that the number that he's heard from people close to Bungie is a production cost of $200 to $300 million. So that means if we take all of this and we figure out what $55 million in revenue is against that supposed $300 million budget of Marathon, it means that Bungie has recouped about 18.33% of their overall money spent making the game in the first place, which then means that Marathon, at least when it comes to copies sold and all that, has not broken even or made Bungie a single dollar of profit yet. They are operating at a loss almost a month after release. And look, you can yell at me all you want. I'm just telling you what's happening, okay? I don't control people. They buy what they want, and that's what's happening here. The journalists can try to shift the narrative all they want, but the numbers just don't lie, and Marathon is in the red right now. And the numbers, they keep dwindling, which is a surefire sign that unless something drastic happens fast, it's gonna be curtains. My guess is their last-ditch effort attempt here is to make Marathon free to play. They're gonna have to. There's genuinely no other way they're going to save this game besides doing that. It will be probably embarrassing for Bungie to do that, but I mean,
Well,
they
it's
did the same
stupid that
thing with Destiny 2 as well.
here's another reason why this game is going to fail on console. Because like this is just like common sense to my mind. Like if I buy a console video game, I have already bought your console. I've already bought your accessories to the console. How much money I've spent, it could be a lot, and it could be the bare minimum. Then I pay full price for a game. But I have to be PlayStation Live or Xbox Live member in order to play the game. Like, this part doesn't make sense to me either. How do you make a game and then make me have to pay a monthly subscription? Like, what? When I'm on PC, I buy it, and I don't need to pay a monthly membership. And if I ever do have to pay a monthly membership on Steam, the people with money in this world are getting a little too insane with money. You know what? You want all the money in the world? Fine. Let us all die. Let's see how long the world survives after. There is a moment in our little clip that we're watching right now where he said it's not the YouTuber pros that are going to keep this game alive. It's people like me and you. Okay? The ones that worked for the most of our lives, or ones that still continue working more hours than they sleep. More hours of work in than they actually sleep. We can't play this game. You've made a game set up to actually fail. And I'm kind of disappointed because Sony PlayStation is one of my favorite creators because of Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo being the only game in like the world who's made real race car drivers for Team Nissan. So PlayStation knows how to make a game, and this one is failing. They have to turn this into Destiny 2. They got to put the same game modes in here. There's got to be only one section of PvP for this game. Everything else is lore attached to the game. This game should have been more lore and story. The way this game looks, this is so disappointing that this game might actually not be alive next month. Because they continue to push PvP.
After release because the paywall kept people out. And again, if they do go free to play, they'll have to then hope that their cosmetics and their bundles are going to save the day. But based on how much I've seen people say that cosmetics aren't really worth buying in Marathon or look cool.
Cosmetics suck in this game. The ones that you get just from playing the game are better than the ones that you buy.
Well, yeah, I don't know, man. But that $40 price tag, $50 in Canada, is going to kill this game before long unless they do something quick. Maybe they could offer Marathon for 50% off. See what that does. I think more people can justify $20 to buy in, maybe. But even then, I still think the be-all, end-all,
have to be
last-ditch
free to
effort
play,
here
like you
is
said.
just to go free to play.
And
sure, yes, you're going to make the people mad.
the only way to
$40
keep
up
it
front, but you just have
PvP.
to go into your reserves of your future content, pull some of the
Yeah, the only way, if you want this game to be just a shifting gates match, like in Destiny Rising, if you just wanted to keep it a shifting gates match, then you're going to have to make it free to play. If you want people to pay for this game, I highly suggest Bungie and Sony, you guys, like, you put the lore in, add the single player story mode, and put a co-op. Or just the co-op. Just the co-op. Let us play co-op through the story. This fucking PvP map bullshit, it's hit, like I said, I'm done. I want to play the game, but I'm getting tired of using the free backpack or the free kit all the time. I want to be able to hold more in my backpack. I want to be able to use a weapon that's blue already. Like, I'm getting tired of watching Aztec Cross, always with the purple, the gold, and he's even got red in there. All right, like, this game is only made for the pros, and how many pros are out there? Like, this much? Holy shit, man. This game is embarrassing how it was made. You just made it for the YouTube bros, and that's it. Like, I want the game to just crash because of that. Like, how dare you make a game just for 2 handfuls of people? That's embarrassing. In general, games are becoming embarrassing because women are on the team, and I'll never play half that shit. Like, you seen what I got on here? Like, this is like the manliest stuff right here. Warhammer Space Marine 2, like, that is the most manly game I've ever played and seen in my entire life. That's one that we're going to be playing lots of right away. I'll be playing that one a lot right away. Because I just upgraded my CPU. And, yeah, that's the only thing my computer needed so that I can play games in, like, highest graphics settings now. Nothing pulls anything down. Tank. Don't go in there, Tank. I was just going to go clean my glasses with him. Where's the cutie? Huh? Where's so cute? Huh? Where's cute? Where's my little man? Tank. You're so cute. No, sorry.
those skins and whatever other cosmetics you have and make them exclusive to people who pay the $40 as a thank you. And then I guess you can take all of that and make a Founders Pack option that is $40 that offers all the same skins in that bundle for people who play it for free. And if they like the game, they're going to buy it and support you. This is genuinely the only way I see Marathon even having a chance at survival. Not saying it's going to survive if they even do that, because people might just play free, spend nothing anyways, but I mean, like, what's the alternative here, guys? Time is running out fast, so they have to pivot. I'm telling you, dude, you can't be charging money for your PvP game. Like, Arc Raiders and Helldivers got away with it because they're largely PvE games first, so that attracts a different crowd. But if your game is PvP focused like Marathon is, and that's pretty much it, and your competition is going to be stuff like the Warzones and the Red Six and the Valorants and like stuff like that and more, which are all free to play, by the way, Apex as well, you are delusional to try to ask for money up front for your game, no matter how good you might think it is. Some may say, look, Marathon needs that No Man's Sky moment to turn things around, but according to Paul Tassi, that can't happen, okay? Here's what he said.
It's done.
The idea
It's done.
of some sort of potential Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky turnaround doesn't really apply here. First, the game is already good, and attempting to expand it to more casual players seems like a ship that is mostly sailed, and if anything, would just upset its core player base, which has stuck around fundamentally. Marathon is not like Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky with loads of missing promised features or huge technical problems.
He's trying
Paul
to steal
Tassi
his
continues,
cookies.
Marathon's player count is holding up decently with a 20%
No way, I
drop
already
in daily
gave
active
you.
users weekend to weekend.
You
Less
pooped in the
steep than
toilet,
Steve's
you got
concurrence
your
at least,
treats.
but it is dropping, and we don't know where it will settle. There are some saying that these numbers for a hardcore niche extraction shooter are pretty good, but 5+ years and hundreds of millions of dollars spent, earning $50 million in its launch window is not a good result for both the game and Bungie, even if a lot of players like it, and I agree with that. Like, if this was a game made for a fraction of its cost by a much smaller team, like, we wouldn't be here discussing this. It would be totally fine, but this is Bungie. They need those Call of Duty Battlefield numbers to justify their games existing, and these are not that at all.
Far
According to
from
Paul
it.
Tassi again, there are currently, as seen here, no plans to change what future seasons of Marathon are going to have either. So it's not looking good for the extraction shooter that frankly shouldn't have existed to begin with, if you ask me. I guess some good news at least is that people who play Marathon tend to stick with the game, as a Circana analyst said here, as you can see. Marathon players are
Get out
ranking
of
the
my
game for
marijuana.
playtime at least on PlayStation and Xbox respectively. But either way, it's not translating to enough new players joining at a healthy rate that it needs. My problem is that Sony has bet the house and the farm on these live service games this generation way
Ouch!
too much. And also because of that, there isn't as many games to show for it compared to the previous generations. The amount of games that are being pitched, made halfway, then abandoned is far too much these days at Sony, if you ask me. Like, they just closed down another live service studio, by the way, at Sony, as seen here from IGN. Dark Outlaw Games has been shut down, which was a new first-party Sony studio meant to make yet another live service title for the company. And this Dark Outlaw studio was founded by Jason Blundell, who also, by the way, was the founder of Deviation Games,
Fuck is this
which, in
thing
case
doing?
you don't know, that was also a first-party studio like startup that briefly came out and then
You
also
fucking
shut down as
dumb.
well. So that is now the second time this Jason Blundell guy has led a first-party studio at Sony that closed down without releasing a single game
What
to
the
show for all
fuck?
the work and money spent. This Jason guy worked on Call of Duty specifically back in
piece
the
of
day, the
shit.
zombie parts of that franchise, and then even then, nothing has happened. You ask me, there's just way too many live service titles in the works at Sony, and it just kind of gets like disgusting the more you think about it. Because what's the point if 90% of them are going to fail anyways and be erased, and then nobody can play them, like, even if they wanted to? At the very least, if they made some single player games, they would exist forever. I mean, Concord is gone. The Last of Us faction game got shut down. That God of War live service game never came out either. Marathon is in limbo. Destiny 2 is not doing great either. Unless your name is Helldivers 2, everything else Sony made live service wise is kind of knocking on death's door, with Marathon kind of just waiting in line for their turn to walk through it too at this point. This entire service model and way of making games needs to stop, man. It's such a waste of resources and time. Again, why bother playing these games if they can just pull them out and take everything away? Like, why even invest to begin
True.
with? I think Marathon's not doing well, one, because Bungie's reputation is bad, which is their own fault, but two, because people are just kind of sick of investing into something which half the time won't exist in 6 months anyways. So we've reached an apathetic point where there's really no reason at all in investing in these games to begin with, if there's even a slight possibility that all the money and the time that you spend is going to be gone and the game just won't exist anymore. It's instead just better to spend that money on something that actually will exist and can still be playable later on, like a single player game. And I keep saying this, is it no wonder why single player games this year especially keep winning the way that they do? Crimson Desert's going to exist forever, so too will Resident Evil Requiem or Slay the Spire 2. Even if you stop playing them for a month or two, they will still be there for you to pick it up again. But you can't say the same for Marathon or really any game that's like that. The moment the players dip too much, that's it, man. How insane to think that unless people play your game every single day and constantly engage with it, then no matter how much time has passed or not, or how much you have invested, you can just lose everything anyways. Again, why even do it? Like, this whole ambition, right, these studios have, it just leads to arrogance every time. For Bungie, this single decision to bet all in on this live service thing is what is currently sending them as a studio on a collision course with hard reality, if you ask me. Because all I'm seeing with how Marathon is going down is that this is not some bold new direction. It just feels like a warning of like what not to do. But when you go back, Bungie could do anything they wanted because they had something that many studios didn't have, which was that they had actual real player trust. People believed that no matter what happened or what they made, that Bungie would always deliver something that would be worth playing and buying day one. And instead of building on that legacy, they decided that they're going to go hard into this gold rush that is the live service genre. And Marathon was supposed to be that like diamond pickaxe, if you will, meant to mine all the riches. And sure, on paper it might have made sense, right? Destiny did great originally. The AAA industry was chasing this live service stuff across the board. Publishers wanted their reoccurring revenue. Studios wanted what I can only call their forever game. But the problem is that this only works if people actually want that too. And I mean, come on, dude. Even before launch for Marathon, the warning signs were already there. So much confusion over the game's identity, the mixed reaction to the early reveals, the plagiarism scandal where Marathon's art style wasn't even Bungie's, but like some artist even that didn't even work there. It was a big disconnect between what people wanted from Bungie versus what they were building instead. And when you look at the insane amount of articles about Bungie and Marathon and the inner workings of this game over all the years, there were concerns about the direction, the scope, whether the game was like even aligned with what Bungie wanted to do in the first place. But these warning signs never once stopped the momentum, because once you're making something like this that costs somewhere between $200 to $300 million, like dude, that's an Avengers movie level budget and scale, by the way, all of this becomes way too big to even question. And then it just unravels, dude. Like, Marathon represented years of development, massive financial investments. But the problem here is that these strategic bets and investments, like, they clearly now in retrospect anyways, they're being built on the wrong foundation, if you ask me. And these consequences, they're not small either. I mean, come on, dude. These are catastrophic, because the issue there doesn't just become, oh, will Marathon succeed or fail? It then becomes that this outcome of whether Marathon survives or not is a direct litmus test to whether Bungie still has the ability to even understand what their audiences even want these days. So at its core, there's an identity
I haven't even
problem.
gotten a better
Bungie
shield
is
than
at
a
their
green.
best when they build their games for gameplay.
This guy's
and
got a fucking
player-driven
purple?
experiences and not systems or trends. And I'm not saying that
Bitch.
Marathon isn't unique. It is to a degree, but it's not shaking the heavens like Halo and Destiny did before it, and that's for sure. These games, man, they're all built to last forever, yet
And how that guy not
ironically
even
most
died. That was
don't even
fucking-
last a full calendar year despite how much is spent making them. Instead, they're just being made by committee instead of these maverick teams that do cool things. And again, Marathon has cool stuff in it, but it's clearly not enough. But I think the harsh reality a lot of people in game
No, it
making
looks
need to realize is
fucking
this,
sexy
okay?
as
And I'll
fuck,
just say
but-
it bluntly so that there's no confusion. Not every
PvP?
studio can make a live service game, true. That is very much the case. But what
Piece
they
of
also
shit.
need to realize is that not every audience wants those games either. And look, if Marathon does fail, it then all becomes a defining stake that's in the heart of this live service monster, if you ask me. Because it will be confirmation that if even a studio like Bungie can fail with all of their history and their resources and their experience, then maybe this trend is over and everyone is just trying to draw blood from this horse that has been dead for years now. Even great studios can lose sight of what makes them great, and when that even happens, rebuilding that trust becomes even more difficult than it already was, and for Bungie, that's like doubly so. And Marathon, despite its name, it might be the end of this sort of thing. Honestly, I don't know what it will mean for Bungie in the future, but like, for the love of God, dude, like, stop trying to make these sorts of games all over all of the time. If you need people playing it forever for it to exist, then maybe the entire logic behind it has been flawed from the beginning, you know? Like, what do you think? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to, but like, what a shame, man. What a shame. Like, enough of these games.
This game would have done really good if we had this technology 30 years ago. When my dad could have some kids with my mother, he was able to own houses and renovate them. He had time back then. He would be able to afford to play games. But the way the economy is, and quite frankly, the whole world is going through a recession. This could be like World War II and everyone's like living on the street. And at that point, everyone who's living on the street, guess what's going to happen to all the rich people? You're all going to get fucking killed by us. Because if there's another good place to live and every other place has got windows smashed out and, you know, winter's cold, I can bet your ass thousands of us would gather together and storm your properties. But anyways, this is stupid, like he's saying. You're making this game when the type of world we had 30 years ago, if it was still the same world today that we had 30 years ago, this game would work. But not when it takes someone a whole year to save up for a PlayStation. Oh, something went wrong. I'm going to end my stream. Anyways, what is going on with my camera? Holy shit.